Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 3 and episode number 334 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Friday. Thank God I'm Friday. March 8th, 2024. And actually, well, we're also celebrating other people who are really fly.
Yes.
It's International Women's Day.
Hell yeah.
And as we all know, Canadian girls kick ass.
Yes, they do. Well,
I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Of course, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health this day?
you know, sir, my mental health, despite my physical health being off because of this bronchial infection that just continues to drag my butt down, my mental health has been great. I will say that the addition of an 80-pound American bulldog / Dogo Argentino has certainly contributed to it because puppy dogs always make you feel better no matter what, right? They always lift you up. So it's like she'll just come over and just snuggle with me when, I don't know, they're able to tune into the fact that you're not doing well.
Yes.
And will do their utmost to make you feel better because that's just, we don't deserve them. Like, you know, that saying, we don't deserve dogs. I feel that in my bones. So yeah, mentally, I'm doing great.
You sound good too.
Physically, I'm doing considerably better. I'm probably at about 70% today, maybe a little below that, but I'm not going to push myself. I had an opportunity. We had offers. Well, you know what? The Ray girl texted me last night and said, "Listen, I have to head out of town on Saturday morning early. We have a very early flight, and I have tickets for Seth Meyers at the NAC at 9:30 on Friday.
Ooh.
Would you and Bridget like them?" And I was like, I really would, but unfortunately, I'm not well enough to attend something like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it worse. I'm trying to get better as quickly as possible. So I'm really isolating, which is difficult because it's Friday and I'm not going to the pub today.
Ooh,
You know?
okay.
Yeah. Well, and I talked to Bridget. I said, I'm not even going to the pub on Friday. She goes, oh, you aren't feeling well. I'm like, no. And I don't want to get my friends sick. I don't want to get any of the staff at the pub sick. I'm just trying to get better as quickly as possible so I can get back on with my life. You know, this isn't something that's going to drag on for 6 months. This is like a week or so, sometimes 2 weeks. Hopefully it won't be that long, but yeah. So unfortunately I can't attend the show tonight, but I'll have to check with the Ray girl and found out if she had anybody that could take the tickets because she doesn't want them to go to waste.
Yeah, understandably.
Exactly. So yeah. So thanks to the Ray girl who made such a kind and generous offer. I got to stay home tonight, unfortunately. So I'm almost there. Hopefully by Monday I'll be back in the saddle. But we'll see. Play it by ear from between now and then. And yourself, how are you doing?
I am doing much better. I think this. I think I might be fully back.
Okay,
I
that's
think I
good.
might be fully back.
That is good.
There's maybe just a tiny little bit of congestion left, but I think I might be fully back. So I mean, I don't know why it is like the last few days are just sort of like slowly lingering. But I'm not. I mean, yesterday I had an extremely productive day. Let's put it that way.
Oh, that's great.
And I haven't had one of those in 2 weeks and a half.
Sometime,
So
yeah.
I was like just cranking stuff out by noon. I'm going, holy crap!
Feeling fit and
Beaver's back type thing.
nice.
And last night, Alex, well, my Beaver sweetie, and I went to go see the play version of As You Like It that I was producing for a local community theater. And we have ourselves a hit.
Outstanding.
It is visually stunning.
Okay.
The costumes are fantastic. The light design is exceptional. Like when you sometimes you go see plays and there's whatever, and the certain things stand out. The lighting design in this one is really phenomenal. And they've got recorded a whole bunch of different music in the back. It's a play, but it's pretty darn cinematic in a way. So I've never seen anything done that way in our theater that looked that good. So I'm hoping that the two there were some reviewers there yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they liked it as much as I did, because hopefully I'm not too biased. But it really is. I mean, we do some pretty good work at that theater, because we have a carpentry house inside, and it's a good board that does a lot to keep on improving the theater. We put sound stuff on the walls to help carry, because it was a little echoey in there, so that the voice carried. We were able to understand everything. It's one of the reasons why we had stopped doing Shakespeare, because a lot of people, basically, if you were in the back row, really couldn't understand it. You have to be kind of clear. So, but yeah, this one. It looked like it was an entire different theater. Like we had like a whole bunch of gadgets and stuff that I didn't know that we had. So, yeah, very, very, very good work. I can't wait to see what the reviews say.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, keep us posted. I'm eager to learn what they have to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you take it from here, because you've arranged for our guest.
Yes. So today, because it is, as we said, International Women's Day. I didn't say it. You said it. We said it.
Mm-hmm.
We're all saying it because it is International Women's Day. We have a guest today who's going to join us for a little bit. I don't know what her time schedule allows, so she'll give us a few minutes. She is a woman. Sorry, I've got Lola's here wanting attention. My talk. We have a woman of international stature on the international stage when it comes to Canadians representing Canada. She is, well, pretty kick-ass. So I'll just introduce her. We'll bring her in. We'll have a nice chat with her. Ladies and gentlemen, kits and cubs, fans of sports, put your paws up, as Mr. Beaver always says. Please, sir, go ahead.
And give us a big round of applause for Lorraine Ostigui. Allô?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Bonjour, ça va bien?
Ça va très bien, oui.
C'est un plaisir. It's such a joy to have you. Thank you so much for coming to the Beaver Lodge.
Well, thank you for the invite.
Now,
Very sweet of you guys.
Now, before we do anything, I always ask Mr. Grizzly before we start our show how his mental health is doing today. So, Lorraine, how is your mental health doing today?
My mental health is doing great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's challenging,
Mm-hmm.
but we just continue on our way and try to, putz along, as we say. It's I own a business, so that's very challenging.
Yes.
I'm learning.
And tell us a little bit more about this business that you own, because I think a lot of the viewers and listeners would be interested to find out some of the background and some of the history that you have when it comes to representing or helping Canada represent on the international stage. And you can obviously describe it much better than I ever could.
Well, it's something that grows out of practice of a sport that is just part of your youth every morning, and then becomes something a bit more intense with the hours of implication, the training. I was never really interested in competing, but I wanted to play hockey initially when I was 6. My brother was playing hockey. He's 2 years older than I am. So he had that option for a leisure sport to practice with the city organization. And I wanted to play hockey, but it wasn't allowed because I was a girl. Those were the restrictions. I'm in my late 50s, so that could give you an idea.
55.
Yeah, I'm 59 actually. So
59.
it was it was something that wasn't allowed.
No, it
There
wasn't.
were a lot of restrictions for women on what you were allowed to practice and what you were allowed to do. So my mother, I either had the choice of going into ballet or do figure skating. Those were the 2 activities that were given to me as a choice. So I took figure skating because at least it was a bit more dynamic. And I continued from 1970 to 1984, where I continued figure skating. I became an accomplished figure skater, but I never liked competition. I really didn't like the atmosphere. It's a judge sport, so it's kind of like not always the people who win deserve to win.
Yeah, especially
And
especially back in the days when we were on just the 6.0 system.
yeah, it was c'était n'importe quoi là, des
Wait.
fois. It
Oui.
was yeah, it was really not great. So, but I persisted in being an accomplished figure skater, and what happened is this: when throughout the whole process of skating and training, I started teaching the young skaters at 10, and I started teaching hockey players the techniques of skating, not just getting in shape. That wasn't the key interest that I had. It's to teach them better technique to skate. So what happened is that eventually, going from age 12, I started giving courses to hockey players, and it never stopped from there. So bringing all the techniques that I learned in figure skating onto an ice surface for hockey players was pretty much an easy process, and is pretty much an easy process for any figure skater, because figure skating has invented every possibility thing that could be done on an ice surface.
Right.
Figure skating is right now an extreme sport.
Yeah.
And they've invented everything that can be done with a pair of blades attached to a skater that can be done on an ice surface. So bringing all these basic skills to hockey was an easy thing for me. So I started teaching and teaching more, and then slowly you went up from local to a bit more competitive level. And I basically started teaching higher level hockey, wound up giving courses, being hired by hockey agencies. So we're talking about junior major, American League. I had a couple of NHLers also to try to better their techniques on the ice. And it brought me to working with the Olympic women's hockey team, the second Olympic hockey team that was that had integrated women's hockey. So Nagano was the first one in 98. I worked with a couple of players from Nagano locally that I got the pleasure to work with and better their skating techniques. And then in 2002, we had a Quebec coach, and I knew her personally, and she knew what I was capable of. And then she hired me to go and better the skating skills for the 202 Women Olympic hockey team. That was an interesting experience. Going all around, I went to Calgary, then I went to Quebec. They were based a bit all over the place training. So I followed them through a year and a half of preparation for the Olympics. And it was a very, very nice, interesting experience, actually.
That was in Salt Lake City, wasn't it? 02?
Yeah, Salt Lake City. It was the most incredible hockey match final ever. Yeah, where the the women's team really played almost half the game 4 against 5.
Yeah.
And sometimes 3 against 5. And there was like, oh my God, how nerve-wracking it was watching that in my living room. It's if anybody hasn't watched that match, it's something very uplifting to look at.
Yes. Yes.
So that was a very good experience. And from then on, when I came back, I was asked to work with a whole lot of levels. I worked with midget AAA, and then I went to work with agencies. And it's kind of something. And parallel to all this, I straight out of university, actually not even quietly finished university, I had started a business that specializes in selling skates, sharpening skates, and all the technical stuff, because in figure skating, we were lacking stores and very knowledgeable stores. That was the key issue. So combined with, I'm very handy. I'm very, very handy. So for me, fixing stuff it comes just so easily to me. So when you sell figure skates, you're selling boots and blades separately. You got to mount them on. You got to do the sharpening. And with figure skaters,
very
the type
particular
of level of perfection that not very much can really affect their skating skills. So that is the key point that we were missing with all the stores. Like a lot of places couldn't sharpen well, and a lot of places couldn't mount blades on boots to save their lives. So all those skills.
The sharpening is different as well for figure skates, right? Because you have to be able
it's not that it's different. It's just that you cannot warp the blade out of its original shape. So like with hockey sharpenings, when you would go to the pro shop, they would eat both ends of the blades. And after like 2 years, you would be skating on a banana, which is, balance point. But a figure skating blade is not like a hockey blade. So you have a presence of the front pick that allows us to do all the crazy stuff we do on the ice. But when you sharpen the blade, you have to sharpen it evenly throughout every sharpening. So after a year or a year and a half, if you warp the blade gradually out of its original shape and you shift the rocker off center, technical elements are very hard to execute. They become very hard to execute.
Well, it's very precise, right?
You have to keep the integrity of the rocker on a figure skating blade. So, what would happen if you would go to the pro shop or any store, then the young clerk that's there decides, oh, this pick is such a cumbersome thing. They just take it off and they don't ask you. And then your blade is shot.
Yeah.
And then you have no more blade. And you have to change blades because you can't bring something you took off. You can't glue
once
a
it's gone.
pick back on.
It's gone,
So that was something that was lacking. And when we started the business and then we started sharpening, it just kind of blew up and grew so big, so fast. So I've had this business for 37 years. It's a very challenging thing to have a business and employees and keep the level of quality of service and to up to the reputation. So that's the most challenging part of the business. Yeah. Anyway, so throughout that, I continued running the business and giving courses, which is time-wise, you can imagine what the implication of time consists of. And it brought me, after that, when I came back, figure skating called me back, which I taught figure skating also
Right.
from 84 to 94 throughout the whole process of having my business. And then when I came back from the Olympics, my Olympic experience teaching that level, I was called back to figure skating. So synchro called me. And synchronized skating
Yeah.
is something,
Yes.
yeah, it's very, very entertaining. I think this side of the sport, I hope, is going to become Olympic one year. Soon, I hope. They've been set aside and put aside so many times throughout the last 6 Olympics. I hope it's going to become an Olympic sport. But I worked with the now world champions, les Suprêmes de Saint-Léonard. In St. Leonard, Montreal, there is a big club for synchronized skating with very many levels, for beginning up to national team champions. They're the Canadian champions, and they've been world champions twice in a row. And they're going for their 3rd title this year in April. So that will be very interesting to watch. But I was brought back to work with figure skating in 2007. And it's been something I've been working. So the last time I was on the ice with them is the summer 2022. That was a bit difficult throughout the COVID to get. There was a lot of restrictions, and only the coaches the direct coaches were on the ice with the skaters and everything. So, but it's been a very nice experience, and I'm very happy to see where the sport is going. And they've had actually worlds in Ontario 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
For synchro. See, I didn't know that because it doesn't get the focus or the spotlight that either pairs or ice dancing gets, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because I've seen it a couple of times and I'm like, okay, that's wow.
Yeah. It's very impressive. To see it live, it's even more impressive because TV doesn't render the actual speed with which skaters are going on the ice or flowing on the ice.
Right,
And
because the shots are so wide to get everyone.
Yeah, and that's the cue, is the camera can't give us many times a good enough perspective of that part of the even the choreography. It's hard to follow sometimes, but that is definitely like they're pretty much the biggest club right now, and they're sustaining the passion for that sport. These clubs, these local clubs. Thank God to their passion, because the sport within the whole structure, I don't think has been considered seriously enough. So I'm talking about Skate Canada, and I'm talking about the ISU. Let's say what it is. They're not really considering that sport. They haven't, given it enough of consideration.
Right.
Now they're kind of, I don't know if they're forced to, because it's getting to the point of popularity that maybe is going to force them to have to make the step. But there's a lot of issues bringing the sport into the Olympic venue of disciplines. The first thing is the quantity of skaters that are going to show up at the Olympics will change substantially. If you look at Winter Olympics, they're all mostly individual sports.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
If you look at Summer Olympics, then you got handball, volleyball, soccer. You got like teams, basketball. Everything is
Field hockey.
huge. But in the winter sports, if you look skiing, it's pretty much all individual sports except for hockey.
Yeah.
And curling is the next team sport for 4 people.
Yeah.
So bringing that discipline in would be a considerable logistic.
Because there's 16 people on the ice at any given time, and I'm guessing there's still other people that come in case someone gets injured or something, right?
Most teams are 20.
Yeah.
And then you have the coaching staff and all the support. Like, they don't have as much as hockey, because hockey has the therapist, physical therapist, le massage, you have, and all the rest of the stuff. They don't have that part. they have mostly the person who's taking care, which is the manager, then the coaching staff. Then the girls are 20. So you'd be looking at least 24 people per team.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's also some countries shouldn't be allowed to go because their level of competitiveness is not up to par, where our local junior teams would, beat them completely, would beat them. Yeah, that's the Sprem de Saint Leonard. Yeah, I think that's Nexus. Yeah, it's really a hard sport, and the hardest part of it all is the capability to skate exactly the same in synchronized movements and all the structures that they do at high speed. And the elements are hard also.
Mhm.
But it's a beautiful sport. And I think they've only blocked it because they don't want to have like 400 more people to.
Well,
Yeah.
and just the timeline, because I mean, the amount of time dedicated to people on the ice, in addition to all the other skating events, the men's single,
Mhm.
the women's single, the pairs, the
team
ice
competition.
dance, the team. It's like you're going to have to add almost another week of competition just to make it happen.
Either that or add another rink
well,
in the
yes.
venues.
Yeah.
But if you look at the things that are being done, instead of allowing a new discipline into the Olympic structure, they are adding disciplines like in short track. How many more disciplines do we need in short track? Like, I don't want to downsize short track. I know a lot of athletes that's their sport, but it's just like, okay, it's the this race, that race, double race, four race 5Ks. It's like swimming. They're adding different disciplines, but instead of like, you're just the same thing for figure skating. They added the team event,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't find it's a good thing, because you're asking athletes to leave their best performance on a team event, and they're repeating exactly what they did there
Yes.
on their personal
Right.
competitive event.
Yeah, because it's the same routines.
You're just seeing them skate twice. That's the thing, For me, that is it's been their effort to add disciplines, but I prefer to see synchro and to be managed a bit better, but to manage the let's say the teams that arrive in the last positions could be beaten by our novice teams. That's how not advanced they are, but they should restrict it to a certain level of Olympic performance, like they do in athletic disciplines. Like if you don't pole shoot a certain distance, you can't show up. And
so minimum
at
qualifications, right?
Yeah, that's it. So that is something I find that could be managed to limit a bit the access to the Olympic event. And it always been an issue to justify, are they really Olympic level athletes?
They are.
That was because they're not doing quads and triples on the ice, and technically they're not,
Yeah, but it's different skills, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, when you're doing all the transitions and cutting, I mean, and then the proximity to each other, it's it's easy to have a slip. It's easy to if something goes wrong, to end up cutting somebody else with your blade. It's easy.
And
to
they
do.
have.
Yeah.
It's like, if I was to describe what happens on the ice, it happened many times during practices. We have girls on platter lifts. They're being held up by 3 other skaters, and in some level of difficulties, now they're only being held by 2 to get better GOEs, which
greater execution
for better points. Well, you get one girl that just has her pick hit the ice, or her blade hits the ice, and if you have one of those pillars fall down, you can imagine what the platter lift happens to. And I've seen a girl go from 6'5" platter lift down to the ice and no time flat.
Yep.
And
ice is hard.
I've had some skaters slash their arms.
Yep.
One girl had a heel go into her mouth, a heel of a figure skate go into her mouth. And
or just straight out collisions on like line
straight
crossings.
out collisions and concussions.
Yes.
Is the other
Lots
problem.
of concussions.
A lot of concussions. Figure skaters don't wear helmets, but they practice with helmets and synchro, but you can't really jump with helmets. It's so you learn how to fall essentially, but when you're 16 on the ice, you can't predict what's going to happen.
It's almost like the peloton in cycling. When one bike goes down, they often take out a whole bunch of other ones, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. That
the
little
domino
image,
effect, the pile up.
Right. I'm glad you're talking about that, because that little visual I was showing, I'm actually rehearsing for a musical, and one of the people in the musical's daughter or niece, is competing, and we just had the nationals like this. So that was Starlight International, their intermediate team, who had won gold and they gone unbeaten all season. So that was in case YouTube like this, that's actually somebody's personal video. I didn't take any copyright. So it was just it's quite a coincidence, because that just happened. That was like from February 25th.
Yeah.
And here you are.
And this sport is allowing a lot of skaters to come out of the woodwork, because there's adult level synchro, and it's kind of cool. Yeah. So.
And boys are allowed now as well.
Huh?
Boys are allowed now too. I've seen a couple in the last couple of years, a couple of synchro competitions. Sometimes where there's one boy in the 16, but the boys are allowed now.
Yeah, there's no restriction. There's far less boys to choose from in figure skating, but though physically this sport is the men are really bringing it up to another level, because they have the physical attributes for the level of technical skills and physical skills required to pop quads. And it's something else. And the next worlds are being held in Montreal.
Yes.
And
very soon.
That doesn't happen often. I think last time we had worlds in Montreal was 75 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how far back. So this is really, it was supposed to be in 2020, but COVID took care of the rest.
Yes.
So now it was delayed to this year. And anyways, that is something. If somebody wants to go see an event and see the height and the level of acrobatic skills these men are doing live.
Yeah, I think we're now having, at least in singles, we're having some men who are doing full routines where all their jumps are quads, or have a quad in a combination.
Yeah, and the impossible is being achieved. 5 rotations.
Yes.
So I don't think physically it's possible to do more than 5. Not physically, in the physics of things.
Yes.
The level of time that you're off the ice on a take off for a jump. The maximum you can do is 5 rotations. You can't. So that's where they're going, which is insane. It's literally insane.
I worry about 5 rotations. I mean, 4 was already a concern, but like if you only had 1 or 2 in your program, that's fine. But I have a dance background, and the level of torque that you have to put on your body to be able to go as fast as you need to get 4 or 5 revolutions, and based on how high you're able to jump. And, the longer a program goes on, the less high you're able to jump. So, if you've got a 4-minute routine and you've got 7 jumping passes, and every one of them there's a quad, either a single or a double, if you're starting to add quints, I mean, at some point, some people are going to be actually be torqued, because everybody always rotates to one side specifically as well. There's a few people that can maybe rotate both sides, and you get more points if you can do that. But most people just, have a dominant side when they jump and they spin. Even as dancers, when we start doing those long series of pirouettes that just keep going, most of us prefer to go in one direction rather than another. So I mean, it just
Well, it's like being
you're going to pull a
left-handed,
lot of
right-handed.
right.
It has the same impact where it's already difficult technically to learn everything that you can do on an ice surface. You
Indeed.
won't have that much time to learn how to do it the other way.
Yeah, that's
So,
why I'm worried, like for people's bodies, because at some point you must be pulling yourself out of alignment from having to jump
well,
that hard.
that's really another issue that a lot of people are not discussing, and it's been something that I've been discussing a lot of times with a lot of my clients that are like I have clients Olympic level, world level skaters that cater out of my store, and it's it's in this world that we know we don't get any feedback, and no studies are being done actually with athletes to see all the body problems they have after the career.
Yeah.
But the number one on the list, which is really ridiculous, um, the level or quantity of people under 40 having complete hip replacements.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Like it's getting to be alarming. And I've always questioned that, the gratification you give for athletes in their programs for all the technical skills that are equivalent to what is needed to be part of Le Cirque du Soleil there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. This level of contortion and all this, it gets to me to be at the level of really analyzing the implication of giving a lot of points to the Billman spin, the layback
Mhm.
spin,
Yep.
the donut spin, where you're basically asking somebody to bend in a complete different
Oh
way.
yeah.
And if you gratify it, then everybody has to do it.
Right.
So point wise, you're creating this precedent.
Right.
The same way they create a precedent that made no sense to me, which is jumping with your arms over your head.
Yes.
Physically, like my father's a mechanical engineer. Okay, so he's telling, why are they giving more points to people that are jumping with their hands over their head? It's a lot easier to rotate than keeping your arms at your waist level. It just makes the rotation faster. So physically, it's actually easier, but it took them a while to get to understand this. But
Mhm.
he never understood that, and I didn't either. So it's just like, and it's not that beautiful aesthetically either. But
Mhm.
the precedent, you do that, you give more points, everybody's doing it because they
Yep.
want the points. So the point and the success you can get out of, let's say, doing these skills that are digne du Cirque du Soleil, what the impacts are physically, because back problems, hip problems, and they're pretty intense. Some national skaters and world level skaters already have 2 hip replacements. I know a couple, and they're in their 40s.
Mhm.
So figure skating is hard on the body. Nobody wants to speak about it. It's such a beautiful sport, but those are the implications.
Yeah, because when you're talking about the hands over the head, I remember like when I first noticed it, it was Brian Boitano, the famous, Boitano Lutz, when he would do
Hmm.
it. But there would be like one in a program. And I think it was not too long ago, there was a Russian skater, Alina Zagatova. Well, all her jumps in the second half of her program, every single one of them had the
Yeah,
had the arms go above
yeah,
the head. So and that's like, again, once in a program as an artistic flair, but now it's sort of like
yeah.
everybody's
It's
doing it. And I remember like there was a period of time for which um, the when they're doing the spiral step sequence and then they pull their leg up into the Bielman, like doing it
yeah,
on one side and then doing it on the other side, and it's like every single person, like for about a period of like 5 or 6 years, was adding that in that program somewhere in the
yeah,
middle or near the end, and it's just
yeah.
like when yeah, you're right. So when you get all the programs start to look alike at a certain
Yeah,
point
it
when
becomes
you start,
generic.
yeah,
There are a bunch of it becomes generic performances because the allocation of gratification through the point system basically creates generic programs. And at one point, it started to become a bit boring to watch
yep,
because it was just the same thing, copy paste, and and there was a lack also that I find of artistic, distinguish yourself artistically.
Yes.
That for me was the joyous times of Taller Cranston. The
Yep.
people that really changed the sport creatively and
Philip
had some,
Candeloro.
huh?
Philip Candeloro.
Oui, Philippe.
Yes.
And those are the things that made figure skating like iconic. Um, Tor Volendine is another
Yes.
one, and today the dance is also rendered very generic.
Yeah.
So what differentiates your performance from another one is left entirely to the choreography, and then the choreography became very important,
Yeah.
very important. It's between everybody was doing the skill, so the only thing that could really make the small difference was that. So anyways, that's and as for hockey, well, I'm very proud to see where the girls are at this moment, being
Yes.
their national hockey league,
Yes.
and finally have a bit of something that's going to take off, and it's beautiful hockey. It is very
Yes.
entertaining hockey. And I would love to see this. I'm sorry, it might be insulting, this type of intensity in the National Hockey League. And they play hockey. And it's very interesting. I've had a lot of clients tell me that, oh my God, like they can't believe the level first. And
Yep.
even if it's not, NHL 6'2" players on the ice, the caliber of game
Oh yeah.
is responds to a lot of people or a lot of fans that really like, because it's really good hockey.
Exactly. If you like
Yeah.
actually good hockey, because it's not slow, it is fast. There is contact. There is different rules, but
Yeah.
the women were asked specifically what they wanted to do with contact, right? So it's like no open hits in the middle of the ice and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's physical for those who like the physicality. It is physical, but it's almost like it's like back in the days when it was NHL hockey and then men's Olympic hockey, because it was on a slightly bigger rink and
Hmm.
you couldn't, do some of the things that you could do. So people and plus, when the NHLers started going, the hockey team owners didn't want their NHLers, their $1 billion investments to get hurt. So there was a whole lot less checking and a whole lot less, trying to take people out mid ice and actual hockey.
Yeah.
And everybody's going, oh my God, why can't NHL hockey be like that? And they started to move that way. But when you get to the women's game, because you have fewer, you can have a team in men's hockey of everybody over 6'2",
Hmm.
pretty much easily, and not so for the women. So, you have a bigger variety of body types and sizes. You'll have some Amazons, but you'll have some people, or Mighty Mouses, who can really skate
Yeah.
and deke and
Yeah.
get around you.
Yeah.
And, and it's just,
Vaillancourt, it was a very short
yeah.
player, and she really was feisty on there
Oh
on the
yeah,
ice. Yeah.
it's great. I love it.
Yeah. But we're
Right.
seeing a bit the mentality change, because I've seen hockey go through a lot of stuff, like even men's hockey. Being in contact with a lot of people in the hockey industry, like I've done some level of clients that are very interesting. So when you look at what the men's hockey has been focused on, is always size, size, size,
Right.
and then slowly uh, we're going towards speed and skill, and
Right.
which we find like people like Suzuki that don't have the 6'7" build,
Yeah.
but they still manage to play, and they actually make it a very interesting game to watch.
Mhm.
So the mentality is starting to get like, it's nice size, 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 but at one point, game, game, game.
Right.
You have to balance things out, and it would be interesting to see, like there's a lot of young or smaller players that are not able to get into the
Yeah.
league, because they want big players still a bit too much,
Yeah.
and don't focus enough on the product is basically the entertainment that the game gives you,
Yeah.
and the speed, that's the show. And
Yeah.
sometimes focusing on size can give you a different show.
Yeah, it's almost like for certain sports you need to weight classes for hockey. Hockey for people who weigh 75 kilograms and less, if you were, because like rowing's the same
Yeah.
way, right? Everybody's 6'3". There's like men's rowing is and huge is like this, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm 5'6". What if I want to row? Well, I'm never going to make an Olympic team.
Yeah, it would be
Ever.
like the featherweights.
Yeah.
In boxing, you got weight levels, and you could separate the skills. But it's interesting. And what I find personally most entertaining, junior major hockey level skating, like the games. I've been involved with teaching one of the hockey players that played for les Remparts avec Patrick Roy.
Oui.
And I was very interested in watching throughout the season what was happening with that team. And they just played marvelous hockey, like incredible hockey. They're always 120% invested. And the intensity, the level of game, the quality of game, junior major for me was a very nice show last year. They actually Rempart won the Memorial Cup.
That was the Quebec City team, right?
Yeah, Rempart.
Yeah,
Patrick Roy was the coach.
The coach.
And they did the trifecta, which is, I don't think we boast enough about it, because they won the President's Cup.
Yep.
So they won their year. They finished first in their
yeah, in their
junior
division.
Major.
Yeah.
They won the President's Cup, and then they won the Memorial Cup. So they did the trifecta. They finished first, and they won, and they won. So what that team has accomplished and the level of game that was, I think junior major was really, really great hockey to watch last year. And hopefully it'll be again this year for some teams to get to the Memorial Cup. But that for me, sometimes it's a nicer show than even the NHL can offer. I think that the players are playing too many games, NHL. And if you look at it, they're physically, how can they sustain that? I think physically they should have less games, because if you go through up to the series, you got 82 games, and you're up to 102 games if you finish something crazy like that. If you go to the end, to the Stanley Cup Finals, I don't see any other sport playing as many games as they do, and it's very physical. So I find that they should reduce the amounts of games and cater to having better hockey, and not just playing games for playing games and filling up the stands and filling up the back pocket, and not focusing enough on maybe offering a better show
Now,
and taking care of their athletes in the process.
Yeah. So when you're teaching, I'm guessing that when you were talking about teaching the skating skills to everyone, you were talking about taking, like, for example, figure skaters. The cross cut is super important when they're coming up to build up the speed to go into those jumps. And so, is it taking the skills and the power that goes into that and to try to transfer it to hockey?
Well, if you're comparing figure skating to hockey, there's no difference.
Okay.
Like technically, you're into a gliding sport. A gliding sport is short track, figure skating, hockey, and the other gliding sport, cross country, skiing. It's different gliding, because you're just playing with gravity with alpine skiing. But technically, a gliding sport, there's no difference. If you want to create speed, it's the same techniques.
Okay.
And the only thing you don't cross-cut when you're cross-country skiing.
Right.
So, but if you're just pushing to gain speed and you're doing skiing, not cross-country.
Not the classic.
Pas classique, le skating. It's the same dynamics, but for a hockey blade or a figure skating blade, the cross-cut's a cross-cut. There's no difference between both. Like To tell you the truth, I'm a figure skater. I've been on figure skates pretty much all my life, but then I stopped teaching in 94 because I had the store was going crazy. I couldn't do it physically and I didn't have enough time. So I just kept the power skating.
Okay.
And what happened is just I never put my figure skates back on. So when I was working with synchro, I was in my hockey skates.
Gotcha.
I stayed in my hockey skates. I can do anything in these hockey skates except jump and land, but anything that has to do with skating. So technically it's the same thing, but get it up to a quality refinement to refine the speed. There's a technical way of going about it. Like women's hockey doesn't have the extra power of the 6'7" slap shot. You understand?
Right.
They technically refine their skills to be able to have the level that they need to be able to perform. And they'll focus more on that, and they have to bring the sport to a certain level. Like if you want a snapshot or slap shot and you measure 5'7" and you want really to have a good slap shot, you're going to work on your skills. The guys, it's brute force.
Lorraine,
So
Right.
may I ask a question? Because I play
Yeah.
hockey. I've played hockey, and I really respect women's hockey. I like it so much better than men's hockey, I have to say. And so I'm a lefty, and I'm a
Mhm.
grinder. So I like skate fast to the corner, grind the puck out, but you don't hurt anybody. Like you don't try to hurt anybody, but I will grind them into the corner and dig the puck out and pass
Mhm.
to somebody who could actually score, because I would score like I would be like 1 goal a season, 1 assist, and it's just like I really respect the role of a grinder, and in women's hockey, like, you're not trying to hurt anybody, right? Would you agree with that?
Well, they're a bit more focused on playing the game
Mm.
and having let's say a diminished stature, but those girls are really strong.
Oh, fuck.
You still use your skills, and they're not focused as much on ripping somebody's head off, or
Yeah.
you're never going to see a girl throw her gloves and smash somebody in the
No,
face like you
we
do in
don't.
men's hockey.
Like,
uh,
we
the temperament's not the same.
the temper I mean, so I learned hockey at age 30. I didn't even know how to skate.
It's the key thing. That's the thing.
So I
And
took skating lessons. To your point, I learned how to, I learned how to skate. I took skating lessons, and then I kept playing hockey, and I'm like, what business do I have getting on the ice at 30? But it was a very friendly league, and we were all like, we were the old ladies. And then what I would say is, like, I mean, we just had the most fun, really a lot of fun, but our ice times were shit. Like, so
yeah,
we're like, okay, I have to
you get the residual time slots. That's
Yeah.
like,
that's the
same
so
play, and it's just like,
same thing
okay,
with same thing with figure skaters.
Yeah.
I
I'm like,
spent most of my time to get some ice time through the city. You had a limited amount of time.
yep.
And if you wanted to get more, like synchro, all the practices, people are still in bed and they're on the ice. They're
Mm,
warming up. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and they're on the ice at 6, ready to go for a 2 hour, 3 hour practice.
Right.
And they're doing it more than once a week. They're like
Right.
on the ice at that time, maybe 3, even
and
4 times a week.
you know,
And those time slots you have Sunday afternoon, or Sunday at supper time, it's
I
just
mean,
like,
and
yeah.
I think I would really love to hear more about your mom and the work that she did to get you into sports. And I just wanted to say, like, I was a shit hockey player. I'm still a
It's a
shit.
hard sport.
It's great.
It's a hard
I
sport.
love it. I love it. Like,
It's a game. That's
it's
why
like,
you like it.
I
Yeah.
love it. And, it was very friendly. And I started playing, my team was older, and we started playing against younger women. And,
Mhm.
oh my
A bit
gosh,
faster.
they're so fast, and they
Yes.
were they were more aggressive, but also very respectful. And I'm just at a certain point, I've switched to shinny, because,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm like, it's 11:30 at night. I'm divorced. I have 2 children. I had to get a babysitter to get here, and I'm at that point I was fat. I'm like, I can barely get in my hockey pants. You know? And I'm like, I love this sport, but it's also like, I didn't learn as a kid, and I know you spoke about not being able to play hockey,
Yeah.
not feeling welcomed into hockey when you were young, and
I'm not alone. There's a lot of people. It was the same thing. Organized hockey didn't exist. Like if you look at France Saint Louis has been on the first Olympic team in '98 for Nagano, and there was no way you could play hockey. So it was outdoors when it was the outdoor rinks were up, and you would play hockey there. And then nothing was built up as structure wise to integrate throughout the year. So then some adults, when you became an adult, that you actually had access in those days to a hockey league, an organized garage hockey league for adults. So that's where all the good players from everywhere around Montreal, like hours and 2 hours drive, would be in this league, and they would all be gathered in one area, and that was the adult hockey. So all the girls that wound up, a good substantial of girls that wound up on the Olympic team, were playing in this league. Drolet, Goyette, Saint Louis, and Thérèse Brisson. These are all girls that were like really great hockey players. So they were all gathered in this league, and they had their level of hockey, the A level they called it, and they were able to flourish or at least have a bit of competitiveness. And then slowly some of them would kind of like play with guys if they knew somebody they could, play.
Who would let them play, right?
But there wasn't anything there. And now all the leisure opened up. The girls started playing, so there's more opportunities, so more people are participating. It's kind of like a catch-22 here.
And I would love to ask you, Douglas, I don't mean to interject, but I am, because it's fucking International Women's Day. So
yeah. So there.
With respect. But did you ever, I had the great fortune to play with some of the women who played on the Montreal Stars, and they were on, and also some Olympic hockey players. Like we were playing a charity event and these women were so gracious. So this is before the Women's Hockey League folded,
the first one.
And so, and they we were like, my team, we were like Timbits players. We're sitting in the room, in the room with, is it Chu? Teresa Chu? She was, she was there. And the woman who was, I can't remember her name right now, but I interviewed her for I Run magazine. I went to Montreal.
Caroline Ouellette or
no, it wasn't Caroline Ouellette. I'll think of it. But I mean that they worked so hard, and they I'll think it was, she was the team captain on the Montreal Stars, and for a long time. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name right now, but I did interview her, and she always had a full-time job. She was a trainer at Concordia. She did athletic training, and then she also trained and played professional hockey. And I was just like, this is bullshit.
Yeah. Well, the story about all these players that were on the first Olympic hockey teams, I don't know if it's changed, but financially, it was a huge sacrifice. Everybody had to be centralized in the program that I participated in, and they had to leave their jobs. Just to give you an idea how unreceptive of a workplace that France Saint Louis worked in. She's a good friend of mine, and she was given an ultimatum. Her job told her, it's your job or the Olympics. Okay? So she was like devastated, because she was, what do I do? My job, well, I said, you know what? If you don't go to the Olympics, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And living with regret is not a fun thing. So go to the Olympics and find yourself another job when you get back. But and a lot of girls had to leave their employment. So if their employer wasn't very flexible with the whole, I'm not going to be here for a year, because it was a year almost of running around, going to camps. They were in Quebec, and then they were centralized to Calgary, and then they would train in Toronto. So everybody would fly all over the place. Well, how many days off do you have from work? You're taking all your vacation time, and you're devoted to trying to participate, and you're at your personal expense. And it has been like that forever. Forever.
Like self-funded or family funded, right? And like, it's just, this is why we're smashing the patriarchy. But would you tell a little more about your mom?
Well, you have to have a good base and parents that support you throughout your youth, that are a solid foundation. And I had the luxury of having a great mom and a great dad. But my mom was very devoted into keeping us busy. So you start off an activity as a youth, you don't know what's going to happen with either you practicing basketball or any sport. So we got good at it, the whole family. My sister skates, my brother skates, and I skate. We're all teachers. My brother's figure skating coach. My sister's also a figure skating coach, part-time throughout her full-time job, but the whole family skated. So it became a family activity that all the children were invested in. So we became good skaters. We had a bit of talent that helped us out.
Oh, you had a little bit of talent.
Yeah, a little bit of talent. But it's just like, you like it, it becomes a passion, and it becomes a family activity. And there's this saying, the explanation of what luck is, and there's out of coincidence also. So all these things that happen to you through life is this definition of luck that I have. It's when preparation meets opportunity. And you're prepared. You have all your baggage. You've been teaching since the age of 10. You brought your technical skills to a level of refinement, and your knowledgeability of all that is implicated in the techniques that are involved with quality of skating. And then you get these opportunities that just show up. But if I had not finished my university degree, if I wasn't teaching and had my certification levels, if I had not been teaching power skating, which was something that wasn't structured or nothing. So it's something that I developed all the techniques for hockey in relation to everything I know with figure skating, and you apply it. And anyways, the outcome, the fact that I also played hockey, to mesh my knowledgeability, my skills, my hockey skills with all the knowledge I had for figure skating into what my comprehension was of what a hockey player would need to be able to be fast, agile, and to be able to do all the elements required during a game was really a baggage that came together. And then I had already the experience. But then again, I had to know somebody that was connected with Team Canada. But I was prepared when the opportunity came by.
Honestly, I'm just, and I don't mean to interrupt, I'm going to turn back to Douglas, but Lorraine, I wish I'd had a coach like you. And I know Paul has to get to work.
I would love to teach you how to skate.
My backwards skating is shit.
I couldn't stop. Nobody taught me how to stop.
I just skated into the boards.
Yeah.
But I really apologize for, I know Paul has to work, so I just thank you so much for the conversation.
No problem. It was a pleasure meeting you, Brigitte.
Bless you.
Bless you.
I wanted to ask, did you, because you were working with Olympic level players, did you actually get to go as well with them?
No, I did not go. I was I could have gone to the 202 Olympics, but it's kind of hard because you're running a business, and if you're not there, because that's the other thing is
Yeah.
I became the key focal point of the business in terms of service, knowledge, and anything that shows up, problem solving. It And when you're the key person in the business, then the amount of time you can spend away from your business is limited. So I could have gone, but I chose not to. I was offered to go, but I did not go because I had to take care of my business. So I watched it on TV, but I was very proud of the girls, the way they rallied together, and that was the way they rallied together was um, something beyond coachable. So this was all girls. The way they rallied together was the team. Really something very impressive to watch, like I mentioned earlier. And I'm very proud of what they accomplish in the in the state of that game. I'm very proud of them. Anyways, I met a couple of players every now and then that some show up at the store and anyways, it's hard to keep in touch with everybody. And I was just the power skating coach. Also, I was one. There were a lot of the coach teaching manual skills with the puck. You
Right.
had the goalie coach. You had a whole bunch of people that were in charge of part of the coaching staff. But I came across a couple, and it's really fun to see where they are today. And it's cool. It's a nice experience, I can say.
What if,
Seeing,
sorry,
yeah, no,
I was wondering also because when you were talking that when you were younger, you wanted to play hockey and you were sort of, directed to figure skating. I grew up at a time, sort of like a little in between time where ringette was becoming very, very popular. And
mm-hmm.
since women's hockey gained more prominence, I hardly ever hear of ringette anymore. So I'm wondering, like, what's the stat? Do you happen to know, like, what's the status of that sport? And back in
Yes.
the day, like, how many good female hockey players did we lose because they got funneled into ringette instead?
I think it's the other way around. There's a
Okay.
lot more ringette players that got funneled into hockey. Actually, Thérèse Brisson was one example.
Okay.
She was playing ringette and she started playing hockey, and she wound up on the Quebec team. And we went to nationals a couple of times because I was in charge of I was a power skating coach for the senior women's hockey Quebec team that went to a couple of Canadian champions throughout the 1995 to 1997. I was involved with the La Fédération, the federation, and I was coach. And also I went to their events, the national event with them, with my sharpening equipment to make sure everything was good. So that's one thing that I can say for ringette, because I also work with the AAA team. Every 4 years, the Quebec Ringette Federation gathers the best players in the province to build up a team that they call Ringette AAA or AAA to represent the Quebec province at the Canada Games.
Okay.
So I've been a part of 3 of those, and there's still I don't hear enough about ringette. There's still a lot of activities, so you kind of have to go outside of your town or city or even your region to participate at a certain interesting competitive level. The sport for me is a beautiful sport. It's all based on passes and skating skills. A lot of the ringette players skate very well. That's when you look at them transfer from ringette to hockey, you notice it automatically with the skating skills that they develop. It's a different level of learning process.
Okay.
Because when you skate with the ringette, the ring, you can skate fast because you don't have to handle the ringette.
Right.
Once you pick it, you can skate like there's no tomorrow.
Right.
The hardest part of ringette is passing. The hardest part of hockey is skating with the puck because
Yes.
you can lose it.
Yes.
And passing the puck is far easier at hockey because all you have to do is place your blade on the ice and the puck hits the blade and you stop the puck.
Right.
But passing at ringette, you have to synchronize that you're going to pick it while it's being thrown at you.
Right.
So timing wise, it's a bit more challenging to pick a pass than to receive a pass with a puck. So
Okay.
the aspect of liberty and power that they can, give into their skating once they pick the ring is really what makes them, let's say, I think, better skaters, because they don't have to worry about hauling the puck around or losing the puck, so they can really skate like there's no tomorrow. Okay. So the aspect of ringette technically for skating is very interesting for that. It's a very nice sport, and I don't think that there's enough given in publicity to sustain it. They're still out there. There's still, it's a little community in Montreal. Competitively, people go around, but we don't hear enough of it. And I will say this, and RDS, it's called Le Réseau des Sports. Okay? Well, they should call it Le Réseau du Hockey, because that's all they show.
Yeah.
And
pretty much, yeah.
Are you going to be a sports channel, and are you going to show other things that are happening in other sports than mishmash hockey, rehash hockey, and then throw up hockey? And it's to the point of ridicule. And I'm a bit saddened because we don't hear anything about our skiers, our short track. We don't hear anything. Only when it's Olympic, we
Right.
have the highlights. And after that, you don't hear anything.
Well, it's a shame because so many Quebecois skiers, snowboarders, short tracks, all the Olympic medals, right?
Yeah. Well, the National Training Center for short track, it's at Maurice Richard.
Yeah.
It's in Montreal. Long track is in Calgary.
Right.
And because they have the l'anneau olympique.
Yeah. The oval, yeah.
The oval. So, but we never hear anything. And, ringette just gets tossed out like just a leisure activity, but it's a very fun sport to watch. But if nobody has the capability of being shown this sport, then you cannot create interest. It's a catch-22 thing again.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things too. It's like if you want to go to the Olympics, then if you want to go to the Olympics one day, then you don't play ringette because it's not there.
Yeah.
No.
Which is a shame because it's a fast sport.
It is really fast.
Like really fast.
Yeah.
And faster than hockey in a lot of ways because like you said, you don't have to once you get the ringette, once you got it, you just go.
Skate.
Right?
You skate like crazy.
Like crazy. Yeah. And I've seen some matches where those ladies, I would not get on the ice with them. And I mean that sincerely because they would destroy me. Like, because they're skating hard, fast, tough. And there is a lot of, I wouldn't say body checking, but a fair bit of collisions. You can call it body checking because body checking is not really part of the game, but it happens.
Oh yeah, well, it happens. You're on the surface. Everybody's going in different directions at certainly high speed. So, but I find they don't get enough exposure, and even figure skating doesn't get very much exposure either.
Yep.
So everything now is being shifted. Instead of being on mainstream cable, they are being shifted on internet.
Yep.
And if you want to watch anything in figure skating, you either go on the YouTube ISU channel or, you go to Skate Canada and you can see the competitions live, which is great because we couldn't do that before.
Right.
But in the process, to do that, you already have to have the interest. And if Ringette wants to get interest, it has to go outside of a spectrum and be on cable to be shown a game, or to be the same way women's hockey had to slowly, fight their way to be on cable, to be to show the world championship of all things.
Well, when was the first women's world championship? Like 1990 or 91?
1991.
91, yeah.
Yeah, I think 91.
I remember
It
that.
was
There was a couple of women that I knew at the time that were on that team.
yeah.
And the competition outside of Canada and the US was almost non-existent at the time.
Other than
realistically.
Finland. I think Finland was number 3 back
Yes.
in the day, and that was pretty much
Yeah.
it.
But now you
Yeah.
see actually competitive teams competing, thank goodness. And each year, the Olympics, you see a massive improvement in Scandinavian countries. That's a given, right? Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a given. Sweden and Finland especially. I'm surprised that the Russians' women's hockey team isn't more competitive, because in Russia, that's the sport, is hockey. Like, that's it. I mean, so much so that Alexander Ovechkin said he would quit the NHL if he had to play for Team Russia in the last Olympic Games, or the
Okay.
previous ones.
Yeah.
He says, I don't care about my NHL contract. I want to represent my country in the Olympics. And an Olympic gold medal in hockey in Russia is like the be all end all of everything.
Yes,
That's
it
the highest
is.
exalted thing you can.
Yeah, they need to win at all costs.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
And I think for women,
Yeah.
women in Russia, it is figure skating.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely it is.
That's the be all and end all
Yeah.
there. Yeah, a
But
gold
they
medal.
were pretty good in synchro also. But if I was to just make a point with Russian women, the
Poilievre.
unhealthy training focus, and I came back to that health issue with the after effects of a career in figure skating, and now I can talk about the now effect, or the copy paste effect of wanting to reproduce the successful way of competing, which is catering an unhealthy athletic a body of skaters that are, let's say it, and I've said it, and I had a person from RDS in my store, and I mentioned this because I was having a conversation with a client. I said, I am tired of watching the women's event, because I'm under the impression that I'm watching anorexic children skate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And these women are supposed to be 16, 17, 18 years of age, some in early 20s, and they look like they're 12.
Yeah.
And I have a problem also with skaters that have no muscle mass. And that is a tendency. They don't want skaters to weigh anything. They don't want skaters to be muscularly fit, because that puts on the pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Muscles put on the pounds. Muscles are the heaviest
thing
you can add on to a body weight, as body weight's concerned. So when I see the knee joint bigger than the quad, I am really alarmed. And this is what they're catering. So copy paste, it's making its effect. Everybody here started, putting their skaters on a scale each time, every day, going on the ice and creating an issue with eating. An eating disorder. That's what they created.
Again, right? I come from the dance world. There was like ballet, right? All those girls, it's the same thing. And there was this moment of time when I was watching figure skating, and again, like you say, the Russian women. There was a period of time not too long ago, I think like in the last 20 years or so, where there were a lot of Russian figure skaters that were just coming like out of nowhere in the Olympic cycle. About 3 years before, they were 14, 15, 16. Their bodies were bending like crazy, and you'd only see them from one Olympic cycle, and then they disappear. And there's like a big series of them, and a lot of them had like almost like toothpicks for legs. And whenever I see figure skaters that are like tiny little toothpicks for legs, I'm thinking like where is the girl? Like, I'm looking at the Canadian girls, they've got like the big meaty thighs and quads, right? Because you're
Mm-hmm.
jumping and you're landing and you need something to absorb all of that and keep that muscle. And I just keep on thinking, I'm watching them jump and I'm thinking like her leg is going to just like snap in half. They don't, fortunately, in competition. But again, with the number of jumps and the repetition and landing over and over and
Yeah.
over again on that landing, and if you don't have the softest of knees to absorb the shock on I, I don't know, because it's Russia. We don't know what happens to them after that one cycle when they disappear. But I'm sure that there's a lot of them, again, like you say, what's happening to their
Red
hips,
Sparrow,
what's
maybe.
happening to their,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
they must be really down, because you haven't fully developed yet at that
No.
age either. Like this, so you're doing things to your body that technically no person should ever be doing to their body at
No.
an age where joints are growing, or before you've had your growth spurts. And I know for women in particular, right? Because they like to get them that young before puberty hits, and you develop breasts, and then that or you get your growth spurts, which completely changes your center of gravity for everyone, but particularly for women. A lot of men, you see a lot of women, sometimes they come in, they jump to the top of the sport, and those who stay in it sometimes like disappear like down the rankings for 4 or 5 years, because they have to relearn the technique from scratch all over again, especially the jumping technique once they
Yeah.
mature.
Yeah. Well, the minute you either grow too fast or put on weight, it changes the whole dynamic of the technical skills, because it's physics. So more weight, and some people can lose all their jumps for a year if they grow like
Yeah.
2-3 inches, and they really scratch a lot and they don't know why they lost everything. And then you turn around and you say, well, gee, you're a lot taller than you used to be. And they kind of forget to look at how high or how much growth they've done in a year or so. And that would explain all the loss of balance, the loss of control. It's like your muscle mass has to have the time to grow to get stronger for the more length of body you
Yeah.
have to control. And that happens a lot in figure skating.
Well,
It
remember what?
must in other comparable sports also.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. I was going to say, remember what we, and I say we collectively as society, did to Tanya Harding, right? Because Tanya Harding was rough and tumble, for want of a better term, trailer park. Wrong side of the tracks. She came from very humble beginnings, basically lived in poverty. But she was a very strong, powerful skater who did not look like your standard, stick thin, 100-pound or less
She was
skater.
thicker.
She was a skater, and a powerful skater, and she was the first woman to do the
triple Lutz.
Thank you.
I think it was, yeah.
And
Or Axel, sorry,
triple axel. She was the very first woman to ever do it in competition, and they told her not to do it, and she's like, "Screw you, I'm doing it anyway." So it's because she swam against the tide, skated against the tide, but she swam against it, and as a result, we as society railroaded her because she didn't fit the mold of Nancy Kerrigan. That type of mold. And even Nancy Kerrigan, who was good friends with Tanya Harding, hated what they did to Tanya Harding.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, her husband was a piece of human garbage, and what his buddy did, and they tried to, it's like, I watched a documentary about her recently, and it's like, wow, did we have it wrong? And you know who was complicit in painting that picture? The media. They painted the picture of this, wrong side of the tracks. Oh yeah, and there Linda's talking, yes, about Surya Bonnelly from France. She did a backflip in competition because they said you can't do that. She's like, screw you, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
and they disqualified her. But I remember the first time I watched Surya Bonnelly skate in competition, she blew my mind.
Yeah, I know. The things she could do.
She came to my store a couple of times, and she is very athletic, very athletic, muscle mass, strong. She's actually the first person, like you're talking about the backflip.
Mm-hmm.
She's the first skater that almost brought the backflip to being legal, because most guys did the backflip, they would take off and they would land 2 feet on the ice. Now, figure skating, the jumps, they all take off on an edge, which is one side of the blade.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then it can be either side. Some jumps are different depending on the edge you take off. And you have to take off on an edge and you have to land on one foot. So I've seen her take off on an edge and land on one foot doing the backflip.
Wow.
I've seen her in shows, and she's the one who almost brought this. So then they decided that you can't turn, you have to be vertical in your rotation and not horizontal in your rotation. So they eliminated that trick that a lot of skaters are doing today, still in shows. They're all over doing backflips. And
well, the institution of skating is just basically it holds it back and reins it in. It's like, if you don't fit our mold, we don't want you. That's how it's been for decades, right?
We get into your favorite subject, Paul. Politics.
Yes. And it's
There
very
you go.
political. It's very
Exactly.
political.
It's exactly the same thing, and pretty much sports have to deal with that aspect also, in figure skating in particular. And I think the U.S. National Figure Skating Association, the USFSA, are probably responsible for what you are mentioning. The media probably made a fest out of the situation, but the whole situation, I think, came back to the USFSA was responsible for taking care of their athletes, maintaining a certain level of repetition, of high level performances. That's what all the associations are given as a challenge to keep skaters at their highest level of performance, to get all the results that they get for their country. And at one point you prefer one skater more than the other, and then you choose or you prefer everything that comes out of this coach, and all the rest of the people have to fight. So we see this happen often, even locally. And then you bring it on a national perspective. Canada's no different. I'm sorry. I would like to say that we're different, but we're not.
We're not.
So, like the performance that, let's say, Quebecers have to dish out to be valued or recognized, or even have the results that, has to be, sometimes you feel like it has to be so much above to be recognized, to the point that they can't play the games and, switch whoever they want on the podium. So your performance has to outcompete to a point of recognition that the judges can't, they'll look
Can't
real
deny
bad.
you.
Yeah. So, like if you want to look at the highest point of, do I have the right to say this? When the shit hit the fan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The highest point of shit hit the fan in figure skating came in 2002
Yep.
at the Olympics with Sally Pelletier.
Yep.
Okay.
Pairs. Yep.
And nobody knows what happened after. I'll tell you what happened after.
Oh, please.
It was the best thing that ever happened for Sally Pelletier.
Yep.
Okay. They outskated, like, no questions asked. Even anybody not knowing about figure skating or the intricate details of all the techniques implicated knew.
That was the love story routine, I believe, right?
Yeah. Well, they did marry.
Yeah.
But
and since divorce,
and they skated on the love story, so it kind of like meshed into their performance.
No, it's memorable. Like if you think
very
the top 10 pairs figure skating routines at one time, the love story one was everywhere.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So we came to the judging, and it was still under the old system. So whatever you decided, or whatever money you got on the backside as a judge, couldn't play this out the way they had planned it. And the fact that they didn't give the gold medal, and they positioned this couple second, it just blew up in their face. So the shit hit the fan, and it was so obvious that it was not judged properly, that the International Olympic Committee gave an ultimatum to ISU: clean up your sport or you're out of the Olympics. Nobody talks about this, but that was the ultimatum given to figure skating. And all of a sudden they decided to implement the new point system and change the whole thing, because I guess staying as an Olympic event was a priority, and they cleaned up the sport / throughout the judging methods that they apply today.
Mhm.
And that was a very interesting thing to see. And it would take away a bit the possibility of somebody playing around with the points to kind of create the outcome or desired outcome that they would like.
Yeah.
But it's still possible today.
Yeah.
It did
But,
change figure skating, though. It really did,
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah, it brought in the point system that we have now, where
Yeah.
and the with the video judges that actually, did you actually land it? Did you did you under rotate? Did you over rotate it? Did you land
Yeah.
on the right edge, so that you actually get credit for what you actually did, not just what it looks like? And I remember that thing when 2002 was preceded, because back, I'm not sure if it's still the same today, but back in the day, ice dance, like we had the ISU for one thing, and I think it was the International Ice Dance Union, I think was different. It was a different group of people, a different organization. I'm not sure back then, but we had the times when we had Born in Kratz at that
Yeah.
time, because the Olympics in 97, 98, they came in with the hydroblading and all those
Yeah, they
interesting
brought in a
things.
little, yeah.
Like I said, so they were going against the culture as well. They were trying to bring more athleticism to the sport. And
Yeah.
it was under that 6.0 system like this, and they slotted them in fourth. And then they went back to the next Olympics in 2001, 2002, and again they slotted them in fourth. I mean,
Yeah.
this is one of the most memorable ice dancing teams in the entire history of figure skating. They've won tons of medals at the Worlds, never won an Olympic medal. They kept on placing them fourth just to say that they couldn't have it.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah.
I guess. And then Salé Pelletier happened, and I think just Canadians just had like,
Okay.
hey, stop picking on us.
Well, and
Number one.
it wasn't just Canadians. Americans came to the they went to the plate on that one.
At that
they really
point,
did.
yes.
Because they were
Yeah,
like, come on.
everybody came to the plate. And what was interesting, like I said, it was the best thing that happened to Salé Pelletier, because they were on every talk show in the United States.
Every single
Everybody
one.
wanted to have them on. And they made I could say it was a positive outcome out of a bad situation, but it really put them on the map. And
Well, I remember watching that, and when they were standing there waiting for their scores, and they have the kiss and cry booth, and the camera was on them, and the boos from the audience from the scoring, right?
Yes.
And they looked at Salé, and let's not get into her politics, because Jesus Christ. But they looked at Salé, and her look on her face was like, that's figure skating. That's what happens. I'm like, so she knew the fix was in.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's kind of like almost decided ahead of time, and you hear it in the woodworks what's preparing, and you have to really let's say the first place has to really
outperform, and they didn't.
Yeah, you have to outperform always more. And when you look at things at the Olympics, the whole thing changes in perspective of. Just go back up to all the Olympics, even going into the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that all Russians didn't deserve to win sometimes the medals that they got, but there is a substantial amount of game that has been happening for a long time. And I think...
but it's been a common thing. Like, I remember, even they were Canadian, but they skated for France, the Duchesnes.
Yeah, from Elmer.
They were always kept off the podium for the longest time. And then when we had Elvis Stoico come around for the longest time, like this, he was too athletic, right? He came from martial arts.
Oh,
and he was
he
too.
brought-
I guess
he brought testosterone to
he brought
figure
and
skating.
we couldn't have that. No. They tried to keep him down for the longest time too. And then there was somebody else that came to mind off the top of my head, and I just lost it. But there was a long series of that. It's like, you know what? You just don't fit into our mold, and we will deny you. Like, everybody's seeing it on ice, what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, this level of athleticism or the level of creativity, yes, and will deny you. Another one was not from Canada, but from Switzerland, Lucinda Roux, the best spinner. She has Guinness World Records for the number of revolutions she can do it next to minute. And the thing with spinning, right? It's the not traveling, right? she could like just start spinning super fast, change like positions 12, 13 different times in a spin, and never, when you watch the ice, there wasn't like those swirly
Massive
things. So
patterns,
she was just on one spot. And she would never get rewarded, like because like we could only give this much for spins. It's like, but have you seen her spin? Like this is a spin that's worthy of a quad. Like give her the points, and they just would not.
But it's been the sad part, I think, of figure skating, and people who want to control the outcome of competitions don't realize how damaging it is for the sport.
Oh God, yeah.
And
It
the
loses
popularity.
credibility.
People aren't blind; they see on the ice that this is really freaking amazing.
I can tell you for a fact, because I'm on all aspects of the sport. I can tell you for a fact that when Sally Pelletier didn't get what they deserved, and it was such a fiasco, usually after Olympics, people are motivated to get into sports, and I'd have like an overflow of clients that come in and want to start skating, and and it was not that effect. It was the contrary. It was like, it's a corrupt sport. I'm not putting my kid in that sport. And that was the effect of it.
It took a decade and a half to recover.
Has gone down in popularity. If you look at the 90s, Kurt Browning, who's my favorite skater ever, the most complete artist. Anybody wants to to see on a pair of skates. You know, it was so popular then, and it was Elvis Stoico and all these, and you were on TV, you were shown, the competitions were shown, the Canadians were shown, and it was like a big thing on CTV. And now
you got to search for it.
You got to search for it, or you got to go watch it online. And, you know, the United States don't help very much because they have the rights of any national or world level events, and they only show the US, and the rest of the people don't exist. So they don't show the fourth place or the third place if it's not an American, and then you don't get the whole outcome. And I was told this by US clients of mine that come up from Vermont and New York to sharpen their skates. They show up and thank God I can catch the Canadian channels, because I couldn't watch anything. Like they would show 4 or 5 skaters, and that was the end of the event. Like the rest of the people didn't exist. So figure skating has taken a huge downfall in popularity because it's not shown on cable anymore, and it's not shown on any substantial TV networks. So coming out of that is a long process, and I don't think we're going to come back soon, or going back to what it used to be, because now it's shifted into something else. But in the aspect of things, there's a lot of all the money you get out of events, all the publicity and all the sport is suffering in a sense, because you don't get all that aspect of things happening because you're not on cable or on major networks as an event is concerned. So
the other person I was remembering, sorry, Mr. Grizzly, was Elizabeth Manley, because when she was skating, there was 3
on the road. There
was three categories when you were skating. You had the free program, and you had the technical program, the short, but you also had figures that you had to do at the time, like this. And they would always sink her. They'd place her 5th or 8th after figures, and then she'd have to climb back. So the fact that silver she got in Calgary was even more, because they basically shot her down the rankings on figures. If it weren't for figures, she would have gotten the gold and actually beaten Katrina Witt.
And there's a lot of skaters that are in the same situation.
But they would just take her right out of the competition. Like they were using figures to rule people out right off the bat to kill your chance of winning before you even started.
It would have been hard to, go on the ice to see all the lines and figure out who did it best. It was an opportunity to manipulate the results if needed.
Yeah. I think if it's going to move forward and gain a bigger audience, it's going to do it on this milieu, this YouTube, like a live streaming event, because that's where young people go. Young people don't watch television. They don't.
Yeah,
cable's non-existent to them. It's all online. So you can do it on your phone, wherever you are on planet Earth. Just pull up your phone, boom, go to the YouTube there, you can see it. what I think would enhance the sport, and please, both of you, tell me if you think I'm out of my mind in saying this, but what I think would enhance the sport and keep it clean, even with the new point system, okay, is if we got rid of judges altogether and went with an AI. What do you think about that? Like no judges, so that there's no personal preference there at all. It's an AI that is trained. You teach the AI what the moves should look like, how they should be manipulated, how you should land a jump, and this and that and the other thing. And then let the AI monitor it in real time, because an AI can monitor something like a teraflop of data in a split second, which is more than the human brain can comprehend on a single subject, simply due to the fact that the human brain also has to keep the blood flowing, the heart beating, you know.
Yeah.
Your eyes open.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas an AI can literally just concentrate on the one thing you ask it to concentrate on. So I'm thinking in the future for sports that are judged, any sport, whether it's aerials, big air in snowboarding, diving, all of that. Get the judges out, have an AI do it. Now, I know people are going to freak about that, but I guarantee you at some point in time that will happen.
See, I think for figure skating that could work for the technical score. I'm not sure how it works for the artistic component, however.
I don't know how it would work for the artistic
component. That would be a bit
component.
harder for the artistic component. I do agree with you.
Unless we can train the AI to be artistically inclined.
The other thing, just to point out just a little, is the AI is going to function as good as it's programmed for.
Right.
And, you know, I'll give you an example. What gratification are you going to give is basically what you hope judges are capable of doing to gratify, let's say, an element. But I'll give you an example for synchro. Synchronized skating right now, if you make an element, let's say a pivoting block or a no-hold block, and you have one team that's skating a lot slower but stays more structured because you're more capable of staying structured if you're going slow.
Right.
So then you get the points for staying structured, but they don't put in the component of doing the same element with twice the speed. So, and it's still a problem today. Like even the judges locally, I have a team that I work with. Well, they were told by the judges, the coaches, we don't give more points for speed. And I'm like,
why not?
I said, well, it makes no sense, because if you make an element 16 girls at high speed, there's far more chances of getting out of line, getting out of position, getting out of structure, and then losing points. Right. But if you do it fast, they've never, at the time I've been involved with skating since 2007, they never gratified on a Canadian level. They never gratify the teams that are doing their elements in high speed or even at over speed. And for me, you're like, okay, but it makes no sense. But so if you program your AI to only look at structure, and then you don't program it to value the GOE, it's the technical difficulty part, and you don't gratify it because it's done at high speed, then you would have your IA flawed in its process. That's the point I have. So yes, the capability of seeing stuff like tennis, I don't know why they don't already have all those things.
Oh yeah, what is the eagle eye they have for the lines?
Yeah, they have that now. Hawkeye system.
Hawkeye, thank you.
Yeah,
there's
so
almost
even in international soccer or football, however you want to call it, they have the goal line technology, multiple cameras. Then they have VAR, video assisted review.
Oh, it makes sense. It makes the sport fair.
Yes.
Yeah. Judge what was done, score what was actually done. Not
what was actually done, and then slow motion it. And
if you have the chance, if you have the
and
opportunity to see what was actually done, why wouldn't you judge that?
Yeah. But when you want to control the outcome, you don't want to go there.
Yeah.
You know, that's why figure skating never got fixed before the shit hit the fan in 2002.
Yep.
So you don't want to go there because you want to control the outcome. You want to control who wins, you know, who's preferred to win. And then you get back to even the Russian system. you're talking about the girls that you see once and then you don't see them again.
Yep.
Well, they have like a whole bunch of skaters waiting for their turn.
Yep.
And this is exactly what's happening. And that's why the ISU is allowing this. They're very much aware of it. They're not doing anything with the unhealthy training environment and the very physically impact on all their bodies. They're not doing anything, and they're not as I would expect for such an organization that's supposed to cater to safe sport, and this is what they're dishing down our throats as coaches. L'Association Canadienne d'Entraîneurs, the ACE, and I don't know the English
Canadian
abbreviation
Association
for it.
of Coaches.
Yeah, and we're supposed to do ethics, and we're supposed to do ethics tests every year, and we're supposed to do the safe sports, and we're supposed to do all these things. And then how hypocrite is it to turn around and see what they decide to, avoid looking at in the aspect of their athletic. They want athletic outcome, but they don't care. They don't, at one point, not taking care enough of the athletes themselves.
Yeah, well, the best example recent one what we had was at the last Olympics, the Russian skater Camila Valieva, who during the Olympics, it seems that, she had submitted for a sample for a drug test at the 2022 Olympics, and it came back positive for trimetazidine, which I'm not quite sure what that does. But everybody watching that is going like, I'm not sure that a 14 or 15-year-old girl decided on her own to say, hey, give me some of that trimetazidine. I need some of that. That was given to her.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And then this whole long drawn out process, because it's been like 2 years determining what actually happens to her status. And because she competed in the team competition, this is something that's like big in the sports world right now. Everybody thought, okay, well, now we've found, yes, they've decided that, yes, she is guilty and she is going to have that suspension. Or they're turning around and says, well, does Russia lose their medal in the team competition because she was the female skater, the lady single skater that was on the team competition? Usually on a team, if one person gets accused of doping, the whole team suffers.
Yes,
like this, it happens in relay teams, right? With one like this, the whole relay team loses the race. And all they did was they decided to lower her points a little bit. And Russia gets to keep the medal. And the reason why it's a big scandal in Canada is because Canada finished 4th in the team competition. Yeah. Everybody expected that Russia would be eliminated as a result of that, and that we would get the bronze medal. And turn around, whoops, nope. That's the ISU. Again,
the ISU
so they have evidence that's like an underage child was being administered performance-enhancing drugs of some kind, most likely not at her request. They're still allowed to compete.
Yeah. Well, it's
and they still get to keep the medal even.
Yeah, I think that was a totally bad decision by the ISU. And I agree with you. They should have been booted off as a team. Because to tell you the truth, nobody knows this, but every team player on Team Canada gets tested, and they're not announced when they are. So, they just show up at a practice, they're being tested. They show up at what they're being tested after the gold performance, they're being tested.
Yep.
If there's one girl that tests positive for whatever, the whole team loses its medal. Right. And I think the ISU made a very bad decision. I don't know if they're scared of, because it's the Russian country. Yep. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I think it's a very bad decision. And the implications on doping for the Olympics, if you go back at all the other athletes that went through the same process of being booted off for, of all things, the snowboarder for
Ross
pot.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a drug enhancing.
No, it's not performance enhancing at
Especially
all.
when you're doing something at fast speeds.
Yeah.
No. So, you know, that was a farce and a half. And, you know, in today's reality, he would still have his medal.
Didn't they allow him to keep it after all?
I'm not quite sure.
I might be misremembering that.
It might have took a lot of years before.
Yeah, because my memory is that they allowed him to keep it, but because it wasn't on the banned list, but then they added it afterwards.
Okay.
Cannabis, but I might be wrong on that. I'd have to look that one up.
But that for me, it shouldn't have taken 2 years to come to a decision, more than 2 years to come to a decision. Yeah. It should have been taken within the whole process of the Olympics, because
the medal ceremony was delayed like throughout the entire Olympics as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, for testing.
They haven't received their medals yet. In Canada, I don't think is going to get it, but
but nobody got it. Like, so all these people, everybody else that competed and did earn their medals, didn't get their Olympic moment.
Oh, yeah.
They got robbed of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not the type of event you just can go back to and pretend and and redo it somewhere else without the whole. No, it's a lost moment. It's really not a great way to promote the Olympics in general, to allow something to sustain and float decision-wise. It's a black and white situation.
Yeah.
It's a black and white situation for me. You know, you're either drug for enhancing performances, and if you are detected as so, there's no debating. Mm-hmm. There's no debating. And the outcome of this situation is the age limit now that has been modified in figure skating for be able to participate at the Olympics. Let's say that anybody underage cannot participate. There's an age limit. I think it's 16 or 17 years old or something like that. So the whole figure skating machine production in Russia for these anorexic children that they're producing is going to hit a bit of a wall, but they still have to wait for the girls to get a certain age before actually being able to participate at the Olympics. So, so that's the outcome of that situation, but still the outcome of, you know, coming to a decision. And it's a black and white one. You cheated. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember that also in, but like on cross country skiing, it was the same thing as well, because there was a lot of doping there. And again, another Canadian athlete, I think, was Becky Scott.
Yes.
Went to, I think it was Salt Lake City, but it was like 2.5 years after the Olympics ended, she finally became the first North American woman to win an Olympic medal in cross country skiing. But the goal for her was the gold medal winner in that race, Olga Danilova, was found eventually to have drugged, and they removed her medal. And then later on, then Larissa Lazatina was disqualified as well. And then all of a sudden, you know, so she got bumped up to silver, and then all of a sudden, whoops, now you're getting the gold. 2.5 years later, again having your Olympic moment, because you can't go back. It's not like they go back to the next Olympics, invite her and like hold a medal ceremony in 2004. Yeah. But even if they did that, right, it's not the people in front of whom you competed.
Yeah. You don't have your people, and you're not with your fellow participants and your fellow team members, because you're part of the Canadian team.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you dream of, right? You go to the Olympics, you dream of like that a medal of any kind, but or your personal best, depending on your abilities. But that gold medal moment when you're on the podium and that flag comes up and you're singing your national anthem, like this, and like, you know, it's like 2.5 years later, and she's at Calgary Olympic Park, and they put a little podium like this. They and there's like 12 people there, and it's like. Yeah, it's not the same.
Not the same. Not remotely.
Not the same.
No.
Yeah. Not remotely.
So that's what I mean. It's like when you've earned your moment, right? You've put in all that hard work, those dedications. You've earned your moment, and you have it denied to you. It's like, she joined the WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, and she became a great ambassador for sport nonetheless. But those types of things are the types of things that make people go, you know what, screw it. Right? You could have had a whole career. You reached the pinnacle of your sport. You could probably take even all the you win a gold medal, you get advertising deals. Why not? She didn't get that either.
No, because
right?
it was too long after.
It's too long after. You don't
The moment
remember.
is gone. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's so much that gets taken from someone, right? Because when you win the gold medal, you strike when they are inspired. Some people win a gold medal and then retire soon after that, but then they get a call up to coach something or to become a broadcaster or something. Again, all of that gets lost. You lose that because like I said, too much time has passed. So yeah, there needs to be something. Those decisions have to come faster.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's one of the problems with being able to test and do everything fast on the spot. It's kind of, there's only a couple of tests or a fair amount of tests that they can do on the spot, but then all the rest is done after because there's a lot of athletes. So the logistics about that is, I think, the most difficult thing to organize. Would be the most difficult thing to organize, to be able to have all the test results within the event itself, the time span of the event.
Yeah. If you had to make a recommendation in terms of, if we're getting back to figure skating, as to what could be done to boost the popularity of the sport again, what would you suggest?
Well, locally there's an issue.
Okay.
Nationally there's an issue, or there's many issues, but people have to see the sport. So if it's not going to be broadcast locally, I'll tell you what's going on, and I find it atrocious. Okay, so locally you have your little competitions, and not all national or provincial level skaters. You have tons of competitions, and competitions have become a monetary gain event for the people holding the competition. So you're having a competition at your club, people are coming, but they're always feeding off the same people financially. So let's say grandpa wants to go see their granddaughter skate or their grandson skate. To get in, it's costing more and more and more. Okay, so just to give you an idea, when it costs $20 per person to go watch a family member skate for 2.5 minutes on the ice, it's a bit expensive show-wise, It's an expense. But then you already paid a big amount just to participate, to be able to do your 2.5 minutes on the ice. And then you want to charge everybody that goes into the venue or the arena to watch a family member skate. So then bring it up to provincial level. Do you know how much it costs to participate at provincials?
No, I have no idea, actually. I used to know a long time ago when my sisters competed.
Okay, what would you think would be the amount? Like participating at the provincials, you have to be provincial level skater.
Right. Okay. So you've spent thousands just to get to that level to begin with, right?
And then you have to pay your coach to coach you while you're there. And if you're somewhere else, let's say not close to your house, you have to pay for a hotel and the whole thing there. Just to participate.
But that's but you're talking about a registration fee that doesn't count all of that just to participate. If you qualify for provincials, you still have to pay to compete. The fact that you qualified doesn't get you in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
And what's that? $1,200? $2,000?
No, it's less than that per person. It varies between. Let's say somebody told me maybe 5 or 6 years ago that going to provincials is $265 to go skate for 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's a lot. Because it really is. It's 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And if you fall on the first jump.
4 minutes for senior higher levels. But
I am told by a lot of fellas that I know that 3 minutes is a long time, though. A lot of guys say 3 minutes is a long time.
But it's, and then Douglas, you were talking to me.
Sorry, I had to drop a little bit of humor in there. It's Friday
You were
morning.
talking to me about the person who was skating that that did synchro.
Yeah.
Well, that was a Canadian national level event. Okay. And my niece was there.
Okay.
Okay. She was an intermediate. And my sister wanted to participate and see her going at this level of competition because it's really cool.
Right.
But it was $40 a day.
There's 3 days of competition, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So put two parents showing up wanting to see the synchro event or any event. So it's minimum 2 days.
Okay.
So the expense just to go in the rink it's too much because first you pay for your child to be able to go, and then you have to pay to be able to go see them.
Yeah.
And they want to make money, but in the counter effect, nobody's in the stands.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at the events, nobody's in the stands. That's what I look at. Nobody's in the stands. At nationals, pairs, dance, singles, nobody was in the stands. Synchro, nobody was in the stands. The rink is empty. It costs $80 to go, between $140 or $60 or $80 to $80 to go, depending where you're sitting.
Yeah.
Just to go see. So, and it was in Calgary. So they could have gone, like, open the doors and promote the sport. And have all the local clubs come and see the best skaters in Canada.
Right.
And that's not what happened.
Well,
So
greed took over, right? They want to charge everybody $40, $60,
at
$80
one
to
point,
get in.
if they want the sport to get popular, maybe they're going to have to rethink this
barrier.
aspect of things. So
you can't be what you don't see.
Yeah, and if it's going to cost you $80, the mom brings her child because a 7 or 12-year-old is not going to go to the rink alone. So you're out $160 just to watch. And I'm sorry, but the event is not that long.
No.
You have 20 skaters doing their programs. An hour and a half later, 2 hours, it's done. So that is an issue for me. It's too expensive to participate or to watch as a spectator. And all the people that are in the stands are the parents of skaters, family members that are dishing out the money so they can see their family members skate.
Well, and there's another thing here that makes, as you talk about this, it reminds me of the battle in the United States of America for NCAA athletes, for basketball players and football players who had, those schools land massive television contracts that bring in billions of dollars, and the athletes get nothing.
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 Yeah.
The stands are full, the television contracts, like we're about to start March Madness, right? For basketball, NCAA basketball. That tournament generates billions in revenue for television broadcasters, for all the schools involved. The winner, it's crazy. They're now, finally, the NCAA is going, okay, I guess we should start to pay some. You think? Well, they get a free education. Yeah, but what if the guy blows out his knee and he was hoping to make it to the NBA or the NFL, and that's it? His athletic career is over. Here's the thing they don't tell you about that. Yeah, if that happens, his scholarship is yanked. Exactly.
Because he's not playing basketball anymore.
He's not playing basketball or football anymore. So they don't have a scholarship. Yeah. So they don't get the free education if they get hurt.
Well,
and they're not getting paid.
As well, though, with all the games and then being on the road, whatnot, they don't actually get the education. They're not there for the classes.
Right? That's a catch-22 there.
So here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm proposing. Do what they do for... And let's not get into the politics of what the British Museum represents, but there's no entry fee. It's pay whatever you can afford. So I think if they set up something like that, and tell me if I'm crazy about this, but I think if they set up something like that for amateur figure skating, and again, this is where I'm tying into the NCAA, amateur figure skaters, if you are competing at an international level, you're still ranked as amateur, but come on. I mean, really, that's a professional level at that point. If you're in an international competition and you are in the running to, podium or place in the top 10, you're basically a professional. You're just not getting paid for it, which is how these skating unions are able to do what the NCAA does and make lots of money, but
Yeah.
don't pay any of the performers. So I'm kind of thinking, like, if it's not an international competition, all of the entry fees cover the cost of the rental and maintenance of the rink and all the maintenance people that take care of it.
Or
So
the expenses for the judges,
it's all
which is
covered.
the other thing. Yeah.
That's all covered by the entry fee. So if
Mhm.
I'm going to take my family, why don't you just let me pay whatever the hell I think I can afford to pay, or not at all, and just sit in the stands and watch? Because I'm only going to stay there to watch my kid, and then I'm out. Because I've got 3 other kids in tow that one's got to play hockey in 2 hours, and this one's got a Cub Scout meeting or something.
Yeah.
And this is what families face. So it's like, once you get to an elite level, sure, pay. But anything below international competition or a national competition, just let people in for free, man. Because your stands are empty because people can't afford to go.
Pretty much, because it's too steep an expense.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's too steep of an expense. So that's the catch-22. Like the catch-22, I'll bring it to this because I go in the United States and then you watch TV, and what's happening down there is that you can't see any sports on the regular channels.
You have to
You
have all
have
the
to
specialties.
absolutely pay an arm and a leg to watch the sports on a specific sports channel. So
Yep.
hopefully we have TSN that's kind of like multi-sport oriented, but you want to see basketball in the States, you have to have the basketball channel. If
Yeah,
you want to watch the baseball, you got to have the baseball channel. And then
Yep.
you're into channeled up to your wazoo in sports expenses.
Yep.
Just watch the sport that you like. The catch-22 is what you don't see, you're not interested in doing. Like you're not interested in a sport. You're interested because you saw it, and
Right.
or you know somebody that practices it, and you go locally. You like it locally. It's free, and you can watch the football game between two schools at a entry level. But this is the catch-22. At one point, who's going to be interested in hockey if you have to only have the NHL channel and they don't show any hockey?
No, and when it comes to hockey, the only way I've been able to enjoy it is by going to the pub to watch a game, or going to
That's interesting.
Well, it's because I haven't had cable for 14 years, going on 14 years now. I got rid of it. I just have some streaming services, and I can get local channels with a set of rabbit ears, right? But the barrier to entry, it's like, if I want to watch CFL football, of which I'm a fan, I'm an Ottawa Red Blacks. I was a season ticket holder from day one. Pandemic came along and that changed everything. But I also find that if I want to watch a Red Blacks game, I need a subscription to TSN. Well, it's $30 a month. I'm simply not paying that. So I'll go to the pub to watch the game, or I'll go to a local game if I'm in town, right? And when it comes to other things like the barricade to watching Major League Baseball, I have to get a TSN package or a Rogers Sportsnet package. If I want to watch hockey, I need to get a package. And again, I'm not spending the money on it. And why Miss Shadika says it's why pirating is coming back full force, because the entry level just to watch a sport now, just to watch a sport, is getting to be prohibitively expensive. Here in Ottawa, I can turn on the CBC on a Saturday night to watch Hockey Night in Canada. And unless the Leafs are playing the Sens, I will not see a Sens game. I will see a Leafs game, because Rogers Sportsnet has the broadcast rights. And I remember when they first signed the deal, they tried to say, this is a good deal for Canadians. And I'm like, no, it isn't.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's a good deal for shareholders, but not for the average Canadian. Somebody like me who wants to watch a Sens game on Saturday night, well, I got to go to the pub because I can't afford to have a $30 extra a month just to watch one thing.
Yeah.
It's not reasonable.
Right.
Now, that being said, I did have to pay a sign up for 1 month so I could watch the Grey Cup, because I'm a CFL football fan. So I signed up for 1 month and then I canceled it. But it was like $30 to watch the Grey Cup is what it cost me.
Jeez.
Yeah. But that
Did we lose Lorraine?
Hockey, locally, there's far less than there used to be to that sport. There's also a lot of competition. Like,
Oh yeah.
there's
Well,
so many other sports you can
But
practice.
the entry level is a barrier for the money involved, right? Because to
Yeah,
get into
exactly.
it, like just to play rec hockey, local house league, is expensive. Let's add in the additional ice time for practice. Let's add in the equipment cost. Let's add in the travel cost. Tournaments. Out of town tournaments. Well, you got a
Yeah.
hotel, and you're just house league. You're not even competitive. If you get up into to competitive or rep or AAA, watch out. Now
Yeah.
you're really paying money.
I'm a curler and just go to like a local curling bonspiel. Like some of them are like $460 per team just to register.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know,
Oh,
you
it's
split
going
it, you
up.
split it 4 ways, but that's still, it's like 115 each to go play 3 games of curling. It's like I pay about 600 or 700 for the season where I'm playing 4 times a week. Right,
Mhm.
for something like 28 or 32 weeks. This, and then it's like, hey, let's go to Bonspiel. You get 3 games guaranteed for $115.
Yeah, that's kind of expensive.
There's I think, you know, regardless of all the fluctuation and all sports with the level of participation, the most I would say the sport that's the biggest sport in Canada is soccer.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And participation wise, that's the biggest, most popular sport.
All you need is a pair
buy
of
running
shoes.
shoes, you know, they give you shorts and a jersey, and you buy your shoes, and then
Shin
if you want to
guards.
play alone, you just have a ball and you can go in any park.
Mhm.
So
Right.
it's very accessible. That's why it's so popular in many countries.
Right.
It's cost effectively. It changes. You direct yourself with what you can afford, which sometimes puts golf outside of and figure skating outside of a lot of people's capability to practice. But regardless of the sport, I can tell you one thing. Too many parents that don't think it's important or don't make the effort to put their children in sports lose out substantially.
Oh yeah.
You know, the whole dynamics of work ethics, teamwork, socializing.
Yeah.
You get out of
Learning from failure.
Exactly. Learning that from failure and learning to achieve goals. It is so many things that you learn and that you come out with in the workplace. You know, figure skating is not a game. Hockey's a game. Hockey's fun. You could suck at hockey and still
have
love
fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a game for all levels. Figure skating, if you want to get good at figure skating, the only word that comes to mind is work.
It's repetition.
It's work.
Over and over
It's
and
work.
over. And over. Yeah.
It's work. And you could be Elvis Stoiko, Kurt Browning, with talent coming out of your nostrils. You still have to work like a dog to get to the level of performance and results that these athletes got to. You know, Patrick Chan, same thing. All the skaters work their butts off to get to the level, regardless of the talent that they have. So when you finish, you know, going through this process that's grinded into you, that you don't get nothing for nothing. You don't get nothing for nothing. Then this attitude is a work ethic that you bring. First, you're very disciplined. You can't be an athlete and not be disciplined. It's rigorous discipline, work ethics. You bring this into your life every day. And I've had one of my employees that was on the national synchro team with the Suprême. She's a doctor today. When she applied to go to McGill, she had to give her curriculum vitae, which is
her resume.
Yeah, her resume. So she gave her resume, and they go through interviews. It's not just an academic achievement based selection here. They go through personal interviews. Well, what did you think hit the interest of the interviewer. He said, "Oh, like, I see you figure skated at national level. You were on Team Canada and you were presented at Worlds." And said he was interested in her talking about that because academically, a lot of people show up, for med at McGill with high academic academic achievements, like scores like crazy. She had both, but he was more interested in her experience as an athlete. And I've had some other skaters tell me that when they went for job interviews, that was the most important thing that came out and why they were selected, because these people are hired and the employer already knows that they have, an outlook on work ethics that is different from get-go from anybody arriving with, more or less specific work experience. So the work ethic you get, and you tend to, it changes your life and it builds you as a different individual. And that is the best outcome. That's why I find, regardless of the level, regardless of the sport, now there's more sports study programs. So at least you can get sports out of school, but some sports you can't get out of school. Like figure skating, you can be in a sports study program, but it's not the school that offers it, like volleyball, basketball, handball, all the sports that are team oriented, like that. Schools offer those, and you can, go through the process of your schooling and get to a very interesting level, even university and college level. But sorry about that.
It happens.
Yeah. That definitely for me is, it's been my life. It's made me who I am today. My parents, if they weren't getting up at 5 a.m, bringing me to the rink 3 times a week, early mornings, and I was skating Monday, Tuesday, Thursday morning, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday morning. This is 15-hour weeks that I spent on the ice to get to the level of skating skills that I have today. And all that effort I bring with me in everything I do. And that's that's something that maybe some parents don't take seriously enough. Oh, it's just sports. It's sports. But there's a lot more to it than that.
If I could ask, because you've been very generous with your time, as we're closing up, what is something, because it's International Women's Day, what is the best thing that you think that parents could do and that our sports organizations could do to actively encourage young girls, and even not just young girls, even like adults, to get active again, but young girls to participate in organized sports, and people who are older to actually, take up some sports. So like Bridget, she was talking about, wanting to pick up hockey at age 30.
Yeah.
'cause there's a lot that, even if you're not going to compete at an Olympic level or you're starting a sport later in life. Like 4 years ago, I decided I wanted to learn how to play tennis. I'm not going to Wimbledon. I'm already 50. It's not going to happen for me, right? But I still want to get better, and I'm getting stuff at it, right? There's strategy, there's there's different things, there's general overall health and whatnot. But what could parents, what would you recommend for parents doing, and what would you recommend that our sports bodies do to try and help encourage greater participation?
Well, for parents, the first thing would be to choose, the sport that you can afford, and choose an activity that the child chooses an activity. Like they'll start off, my niece started off with dancing, and then she moved on to something else. She wanted to do gymnastics. After that, she came to figure skating. So you try out a couple of little activities, but you have to focus the emphasis on choose one thing. You have to choose one thing. Like we had to choose one thing. My parents were not just going to let me not do anything at home. I needed to be invested. So choose something. You have to choose something. Whatever you choose, you're going to do it for a year and you can't quit. That was essentially so once you get involved, you taste one type of activity, then you taste another type of activity. And at one point, one activity will stick. And if it's not done by the parents to create this way of life, a healthy way of life is to be active. We've had all sorts of associations in Quebec wanting to move activities, get active, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have a parent bringing you to the gym or a parent, bringing you to the ice surface or the ice rink on Saturday mornings, it's kind of hard for the kids to do that. So if that's not available, then the other option is school. And some schools are not really developed for, doing organized. You have to organize it and structure it. And a lot of schools are not really structured for that. And they've, they kind of pulled away from offering all the the gym sessions are cut down. Everything's cut down for physical activity. So you kind of don't get involved because of it. As a girl, if you have an organized activity and everybody's playing a sport and all your friends are there, you're going to go. It's going to be fun, and you create this thing out of a young age. It's harder when you're 30. You don't know how to skate. You don't know how to maneuver a puck and you start hockey. But the structure's there for you. You can get into a league that is your level. If there was only let's say elite AAA level available, then you wouldn't practice sports because you wouldn't be able to play at that level. So if the structure is there, the opportunity is there, then it's a question of choice at that point when you're an adult. But when you're a young child and you are built into participating into a sport all the time, at one point you will fall in love with one thing. And then you will pursue this activity. But if you're not, you never played volleyball till you're in secondary 4, and then you love it, but you never did sports, or you won't hook onto it. And then you develop self-confidence. You're good at something. You have fun at something. There's a lot of things that develop, but the structure has to be there. You create the opportunity. A bit like luck. Preparation meets opportunity. So, if you're at school, you're prepared to do an activity, the activity has to be there for you to be able to get into it. And you will fall into an activity sometimes by pure luck. You're going to meet somebody, you're going to do something once and you're going to love it. And then it hooks with you and it becomes a part of your life. Mm-hmm. You look at Tiger Woods. Yeah. At the age of 2, hitting the golf ball.
Right.
If his parents didn't, put a club in his hands, he was given the opportunity. He fell in love with the sport, and he became the best golfer in the world in the process. Mm-hmm. So that's the only. People have to create opportunities, structures that people can invest themselves in and have a chance to participate in any type of sport.
I do.
In the schooling system. We're throwing a lot of responsibility on the schooling system, but I think that they pick up all the slack for parenting sometimes.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, they pick up the slack for a lot of parenting sometimes, and that would be the best way to at least get somebody hooked at elementary level and then high school level into a sport and fall in love with it.
Right. Lorraine, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This has been wonderful. It's been a totally unexpected
really fun
treat. It was a delight.
It's a nice conversation. I loved it.
Yes, it was great. I learned a lot. There's a lot of things I didn't know. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a sports fan, but
yes, you are. You knew a lot about figure skating. I was very impressed.
Big fan of figure skating. But where most people will watch the big 4, basketball, soccer, hockey, and football, my jam is all the Olympic sports.
Okay.
I've always been like a big fan of all the Olympic sports. Like my dream. It's like, had I been in a family young enough and that had the financial means, and had I been aware of sports, because as a kid I was very, very bad at sports. I was a dancer, so I was athletic, but I was terrible at sports. But like throughout my life, it's like, oh, competitive swimming. Yeah, let's try that. Competitive curling. Hey, let's try that. Now I'm picking up tennis, and there's a whole bunch of sports that I would really like. But I was always drawn to the Olympic sports. And I remember when I saw my first Olympics, it was 1984.
Oh,
Because I was born in 73, so 76 I was too young to remember. And then 80 had the boycott.
Yeah.
So it was like 84, and I'm watching Los Angeles. And because there was the boycott the other way, well, Canada won a whole bunch of medals, right? You got
Yeah.
Sylvie Bernier in diving, right? won the
Right.
gold, whatnot, because and all that kind of stuff. And I remember, like, I'm watching that, and I'm just like, oh my God, we're really good at this stuff. And from that moment, I'd always wanted to go to an Olympics, but it was 84.
Yeah.
I was already 11. Most people who go to Olympics have already started the sports that they're going to be at the Olympics at already.
Yeah.
Right. So like that moment was past. Had I maybe had a chance to see the Olympics when I was 5 or 6, I maybe would have gotten to something a little earlier. But my dream vacation, I still haven't done it yet, is to go see an Olympics in person, which is why I asked you if you had gone, because
it's Paris.
I don't care where in the world it is. Like this, I just want to go to, like, I've been to Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the French Open, like this. I've gone to the Canadian Figure Skating Championships. I've gone to the Briar, and like I will go see it. When the World Cup was here, I went to go see Norway play the UK. I went to the Pan Am Games. Like I really love that. It's really fantastic. But I really just want to go to an Olympics and like just see what it's like. I even went to the Olympic Park and tried luge, right in Calgary.
Are you serious?
Yes, I tried it, because we went for the because we knew that you could do bobsleigh, right?
Yeah.
They could take it down on the run. But on the day we went, it happened to be the same day that the Canadian National Luge Championships were on. So I actually met Jeff Christie, and they were there, and they said, "No, it's not bobsleigh today; it's luge." It's like, okay, let's try it. It's scary as hell. I was a human pinball on the last run.
Were you on a sled with somebody, like 2-man luge, or was it
single? But what they do is they give you 5 runs, and they start you at the training, because there's 3 starts on a luge track.
Yeah.
So they start you at the training start, like this, and all they do is they make you sit down, lie down on it, and they literally just take the finger and they push you over just like that, and then you go. And then you do two runs like that, and then they bring you to the junior start, and they do the same thing. And like the Olympic level medalists, and there's a women's start and there's the men's start, and they start from the men's start and they go all the way down that track in about 52 seconds.
Wow.
And us from the junior track all the way down was about 55 seconds. And they tell you on luge, when you're going to hit the sides, it's the opposite of driving, because when you drive, you're about to go off the road, you go the other way. But in luge, when you hit the side, you're supposed to lean into the side that you've hit in, and then slowly bring yourself back, because if you turn, all you do that you hit is hit the other side, and you become this human pinball going down. I experienced that once. It is not fun, and there's nothing to hold on to on the bottom of the luge. You just got your hands, so I'm sitting there going, and you can't lift your head up because the wind comes and throws you off the luge, as we saw at the Vancouver Olympics, the athlete from Georgia that went in the training run, that went flying off his luge and unfortunately died.
Yeah.
So it's so you can't lift your head up. So you're you got your head back, and you're looking down your nose, and it's just the angle that makes you see the tracks, but you're going boom, boom, boom. And so, oh God, I want to get off this ride. I want to get off this ride. So sports, for me, this is a particular treat, because talking about somebody who's gotten to work with the athletes that understands sports, and because, like you said, it's a gliding sport, so it applies to cross-country skiing, and we didn't even get into short track and long track specifically in talking about the differences. I'm a very, very happy beaver right now. I know it's International Women's Day, but this was very much a treat for me.
Yeah.
I respect her knowledge, and thank you.
Now, like you were saying, do you know how the impact I see that the Olympics had on you as
Oh,
a motivation source?
oh yeah.
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 Now,
I
wouldn't it
still have a
be,
dream. I still hope to make it in curling one day.
yeah, wouldn't it be sad if the Olympics came to be exclusively on some channels?
That would be terrible.
That's
It really
my
would be.
ending quote, because it might get there.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what's watching the Olympics in 84
Yeah.
that made me want to try sports and any type of sports, like made me want to be
Exactly.
good at sports because I had just given up on them.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually want to go. Like I've actually, you know, in certain sports, it's going to sound more impressive than it is, but I actually went to the National Open Water Swim Championships.
Oh,
I competed
nice.
like this when I was a swimmer like this. Now, I didn't have to qualify. So I did not finish last because, but I, but we were swimming in the, and I went to the la traversée du lac Memphremagog.
Oh mon
Not
Dieu.
Memphremagog,
Mm.
not Memphremagog, Magog. Like
Ah
this.
oui.
And I did,
That's
and
the
I didn't do
sliding
the,
center.
yeah, exactly. And I didn't do the traversée, but they had a 1K, 2K, 5K, and 10K event like
Okay.
this. So, and I did that, but it was, so like, it always sounds impressive. I went to a national championships. Well, yes, I did realize my dream of going to a national championships in a sport because I
That's
didn't have
cool.
to qualify. But I also got to, in 94, go to the gay games in New York City, which is
Wow.
so, and that one was like, that feeling that athletes say they get at the opening ceremonies.
Yes.
We had an opening ceremonies, and they were at the Met Stadium, and the closing ceremonies was at Yankee Stadium, and we were all like by country, and we had our outfits and our uniform, and there was a person that like Canada, and you walk in, and everybody is like yelling, ah! And TSN had actually showed up because they had a series called For the Love of the Game back then. I actually got interviewed because I had my medals from my swimming competition, and it was just like,
Cool.
this is so much fun. This is what it feels like. I was like, that's the closest to the Olympics I ever got, right? And that I will ever get. But walking into that stadium, and there's like Yankee Stadium is big. And
Yeah.
all these
Mhm.
people who do not know you are cheering for you just because
Wow.
you walked in. It's one hell of a drug.
Oh, I could, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
There's nothing artificial that can replace that feeling.
Oh
right?
no. You're just like walking in Canada, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's
Those are
like you
memorable
said.
times. They're
I,
gonna.
like I said, I could get Alzheimer's and I will remember that moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
no doubt. Yeah. Yeah.
It's seared into my brain.
Oh, it's really cool.
Yeah, so you can gain a lot. And I wanted to show you something.
Oh.
I
Okay.
played hockey for 2 years and I
Yeah.
was terrible at it.
So you got
0
yourself
goals,
a pair of
0
figure
assists, two penalty minutes because I didn't know how to stop and I ran into someone. And then I went to
Okay.
the penalty box and I cried because I didn't mean to hurt him.
So
But
you
hockey
got
skates,
yourself a pair of Jackson skates.
yes, but hockey skates always hurt my ankles. And
Okay.
because I'm a dancer, right? Dancer shoes, you always buy 2 sizes smaller than your actual feet so that they mold to your feet. So I thought, what about figure skates? I do not know how to do any tricks with these, and I would so love to learn, but I love these skates.
No, you have Rice Sports. Nice.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love these skates.
Yeah, I
They are
saw
the
that.
most comfortable skates I
I've
have
never worn
ever
figure skates.
had in my entire life. And I just want to, I don't want to jump because I got bad knees, but I want to learn how to spin something fierce.
So funny
because
story.
because that was the funnest thing in dancing. I loved to spin, but you could only spin, you could like do a triple or a quad at the most, or if you can do the leg whip, you can do more, but that's it. But with skating, like you could just spin and spin and spin, and I don't get dizzy. And I really want to learn how to spin.
Well,
That's the reason why I have
Stoico.
these.
Take some lessons.
That was Elvis Stoico, though. He just told his parents he wanted to spin, so they got him into figure skating. And look
At
what that
age
did
5
for
in
him.
the living room.
Yep, he wanted to
At
spin.
age 5 in the living room, he wanted to spin at age 5. So
Yeah.
Yep.
some people are destined, you know?
And
I tell you a funny
I did
story.
not have the bottom picks shaved off.
That's
they're
good
still there,
because you
yeah.
need those.
did-
Without those, you
Okay.
can't do all the tricks.
Toe
But-
pick.
But hey, well, that's exactly it. That's the first thing I learned is like, you really have to lift your foot off the ice because the number of times I went down face first, getting used to
Yeah.
that toe pick, just while having the lazy foot.
Mhm.
So I didn't really lift it high because with hockey skates you don't have to, and it's like, oh, okay, like this. And I remember I was on the Rideau Canal, and so all of a sudden I got some speed going. It's like, okay, yeah, this is great. You go down real fast and
I
hard.
was in Paris a bunch of years ago, between Christmas and New Year's, and I was there for New Year's Eve, and we were at the Eiffel Tower. And on, there's 3 levels to the Eiffel Tower. If you've never been, there's the lowest level where there's restaurant and there's a cafe and there's a cafeteria and there's a skating rink. In the wintertime, they have a rink, so you can go and skate on the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And I get up to them and I'm like, yeah, men's skates. And they handed me figure skates. And I went, no, I'm out. I'm out. And they looked at me, and the person I was with was like, what's the matter? And I go, I've never worn figure skates in my life. I'm Canadian. If I put them on, they know I'm Canadian. I'm a dumb Anglophone in Paris, and I skate and I fall flat on my face. They're going to take my passport away from me and banish me to Siberia. I've never skated in figure skates, so I'm not about to attempt it on the Eiffel Tower. I'll look like an idiot. I will embarrass my country. And she just looks at me and she goes, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Okay. No problem. Yeah.
Well, happy
Oh, here,
International
Jim.
Women's Day.
Well, thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you
It
for
was,
spending so much time with us.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. And if any day you have anything else to say, please come back. We'd love to have you back again.
And
Well,
while
I
we
have
have
your
you here,
email.
we have you we have a captive audience. We've got about somewhere around 900 people watching live right now, and there'll be more as the day goes on. What is the name of your store, and where can they find it?
Yes.
L'Artiste du Patin.
L'Artiste du Patin.
L'Artiste du Patin in Brossard on the South Shore of Montreal.
Mhm.
And I've had the business for 37 years. And we're highly specialized in everything that has to do with skates, hockey skates also we sell, not only figure skates.
And you teach power skating too, correct?
Yeah.
Which is
I
funny
try
when you watch big burly 6'4" hockey players get pushed over and they can't move you, right?
Well, it's been. I can say that a lot of NHLers would benefit from taking lessons and paying more attention to their skating skills because they can't skate backwards, a lot of them, and they can't cross-cut well either. Even forwards, they're jumping all over the place and they're not very smooth.
What was it Wayne Gretzky said about Sidney Crosby? He said Wayne Gretzky actually said before Sidney Crosby got in the NHL, because Sidney Crosby took figure skating and power skating when he was very young. Wayne Gretzky said, wow, that kid can skate. If I could have skated like him, I really could have been something. He actually said that, and everybody was like, what? He goes, well, if I could have skated like that, I really would. I would have set some great records. I'm like, dude, your records are untouchable.
Yeah, but he, outside of his genius for the game, the way the game is played, visionary hockey player, which a lot of people don't see ahead and can't really position themselves according to a potential outcome in a game. He was the master of that, but he wasn't the best skater, and he's right with that.
He's right. He wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't have a great shot. He didn't have a slap shot.
Yeah.
A wrist shot.
Yeah.
He was not a great skater, but he had vision. He knew where to be, skate to where the puck
He was
should
always
be.
where he needed to be when he needed to be there, and that was his
gift.
Oh yeah, and his talent was really that. But he wasn't the greatest skater.
No.
Technically, no. And there are a lot in the NHL that are pretty much in the same predicament.
Well, and then I look at somebody like Connor McDavid, who is not only the fastest skater I've ever seen in professional hockey, but he's so fluid. Like they used to say about Paul Coffey, the only man who accelerates as he glides, because they were both very good skaters. And Connor McDavid is probably the best skater in the NHL right now. And I don't think it's even close. And when he gets the puck and takes off, good night. He reminds me of Bobby Orr. Remember Bobby Orr would get the puck in his zone, go end to end through the whole team, make them look like pylons, and then score a goal.
Yeah. There's technically there's a thing that makes you say that somebody's fluid on the ice. hockey has always been what I taught and explained to hockey players is you cannot maneuver the puck well if what you're doing below with your legs is disturbing what you're trying to do on the upper body. So the
Right.
lower body has to skate, the upper body has to play hockey.
Right.
So where we get into the problem is that everything you do, how you skate, if you don't do it well and in the proper angle,
Yep.
you have the action reaction physics that kind of disturb the whole upper body.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And then you are not fluid. You cannot be fluid with the puck.
Yep. You want a stable and smooth platform.
Exactly. So that is the technically the mechanics of everything that's done on an ice surface is in relation to executing the pushes in the proper angle according to where you are. Either you're starting, you're accelerating, or you're skating. But a lot of hockey stays in the start and acceleration mode, but they never get into a skating mode. So they don't go into the third speed, which is skating techniques. They stay in acceleration. They do stop and they're all over the place, but they never get into the technique of skating. And so that's why there's a high velocity of repetitions and stepping at a high speed frequency to optimize speed, but they never get into the third mode, which is change your angles, push, and then less frequent, and then you continue accelerating. And I've worked with a lot of skaters, and what I find is they can't cross-cut properly. So each time they don't undercut in the proper angle, their upper body torques, and then they can't maneuver the puck.
Yep.
So it's not normal when you're an NHL player and we're practicing forward cross-cuts, and you can't cross-cut and drag the puck. They keep losing the puck left and right.
Yeah.
And there are people who are already signed. They're either, these are hockey agency skaters, so they're already signed, hockey players, and they can't cross cut and just, smoothly transport the puck. They always have to maneuver. They're jerking, upper body's jerking when it shouldn't be. So technically, the fluidity that you get and that you recognize on an NHLer has everything to do with the proper techniques of execution when it comes to standard pushing and cross-cutting and turning. It's not done properly, so it disturbs the upper body. So you're going to see them jerky instead of being fluid. So Douglas, you're a dancer. It's like dancing Latin. Your upper body doesn't move. It's the lower body that does the steps. Well, it's the same thing. That's my analogy. It's the same thing. So you manage to cut off the upper body that's playing hockey, and then the lower body that's skating.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the fluidity that you referred to, the quality of those skaters. That's what they achieved or brought to their skating skills, that quality. So that explains the fluidity.
Yep. I noticed, you're right in dance like this, while everything's going on downstairs like this, the shoulders are stable and level. The shoulders are not popping up and down or like this. Like all of this is there. And like this, you could be like swimming like a duck below the waist, but this.
Exactly.
It's like Highland dancing or Irish step dancing. Everything below the waist is going bananas, but everything above it doesn't move.
So what you have is a lot of hockey players that can't backward start well. They can't backward skate. They don't have their weight on the pushing leg. They're all mismanaged in their technique. So they have to compensate by doing an excessive amount of pushing steps that are not productive enough to generate the speed that they're looking for. So, there's all these things that, I had somebody that was playing for the American League for Chicago, and he was a defenseman. And I spent the week trying to make him understand that, and making exercises to shift his weight to get the power on the pushing leg. Is basically you have to have your weight over the pushing leg to be able to generate power. But he always had his weight on the gliding leg, and he was shifting inappropriately, and that's how he learned how to play to skate backwards all his life. And it was very hard to just change this very refined detail that would generate twice the power on the same push. And those are things that, I find that I see a lot in the NHL. There's a lot of crosscuts that are not, mastered. And it's not that I want to excuse, the fact that hockey players don't only need to know how to skate, but mobility on the ice is key.
Mhm.
And the level of difficulty, technically, that a hockey player needs to refine their skating skills is very basic. Because the level of technical skills that is required is learned in the 6 badges of the figure skating program for
Right.
toddlers that are beginners.
Right.
It's skating forward, skating backwards, cross-cutting forwards, cross-cutting backwards, mastering turns that they decided to take the name away because it was inappropriate, which was called the Mohawk turn. So all the pivots, the 2-foot pivots, the breast turns, the only thing they don't learn are takeoffs and backward takeoffs, forward takeoffs and backward takeoffs, technically that are not shown in figure skating because you don't need a forward and backward start, explosive start in figure skating. All you need is to glide in figure skating.
Yeah.
So, they all that basics that is, I don't comprehend why you're in NHL level and you still can't do proper backward crosscuts. For me, that's
I don't think they
inexcusable.
teach it in hockey anymore because when I was on skates, I think as soon as I could walk, and I'm not joking when I say that. We lived in Cold Lake, Alberta at the time, so I was walking. They had me on bob skates out on the ice. I've been playing hockey, organized hockey. I started when I was 5 or 6. I can't quite recall. And one of the fundamentals they taught us was skating back then. They don't teach that in hockey anymore. Now they expect you to take a separate course. Well, not everybody can afford to do that.
Right.
So one of the most natural, one of my favorite thing in the world to do is ski. If I could ski every day of my life, I would. And in the winter, living here in Ottawa, unfortunately this year and last year it was not good, but I would go out on the canal and spend 6, 7, 8 hours just skating. And I'd go and meet some friends and I'd hang out with them for a few minutes and then I'd just take off because there's something about being alone on the ice by yourself with the longest rink in the world to just skate freely with nobody to interrupt you. You have not a care in the world. I just felt so fluid and natural and free and alive, which is why the last 2 seasons, we're open for 10 days this year, but the canal, only sections of it, and it was terrible. The Rink of Dreams up the street from the City Hall is there, and I might put the skates on Sunday and go out for a little bit, but it's not the same as having that freedom to skate, like a river or a lake, or in my case, the canal. It's not the same. And when I'm out there, it feels the closest experience I can get to skiing because a lot of the motion is very similar for me.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
Hips and knees. And there's the gliding aspect of it and the
Changing
absolute
of direction
freedom.
is the same also.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It just
weight
feels
transfer,
so
changing
natural to me to do it. It's because I've been doing it my whole life.
Yeah.
So, I didn't get skiing this year because the season was, well, the only way I was going to go is if I went to Europe.
Non-existent.
It was really non-existent. I know I had some friends who went out and said they went out a couple times and it was good, but you really had to, it was a luck of the draw. So this season and last season for skiing, I only got out 5 times last year. I bought new gear for last season and this season, and I didn't get out once this year. And unless I head down to South America this summer, it isn't going to happen in 2024, I'm afraid. So, yeah, it's a bummer that the 2 things that I love the most when it comes to sports, and I'm a hockey player. I was a goalie for decades, but skating, just skating on the canal, just the freedom of it. Same thing with downhill skiing.
Free.
It's the freedom of it.
Yeah.
There's no barriers, no barricades, no nothing. And you can go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. You can take your time. And you're not holding anybody else up. Like you're not in anybody's way. And I think that's what about it for me. Like if you're out on a cross-country ski trail and there's a lot of people.
Yeah, you're stuck behind people,
or in front and slowing them, you're but going down a mountain or going up and down the canal, It's just you, and you're only competing against yourself, which is, I think, is why a lot of people enjoy running, because it's the same thing. It's the freedom. As a goaltender, my knees don't like running, and I want to be able to save them for skating and skiing. So I'm not really much of a runner. I will get on my bike, but there's a whole different reason why I don't spend too much time on it, because the seat and men and what it can do to men. Let's from a men's health perspective, bicycle seats for a long time period is bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want.
Well, they're not comfortable to begin with. So.
No, they're not.
Yes.
They're not, and they have detrimental aspects that I just don't want to. Have to address at my age. I might have to in 20 years, but I'm hoping I don't. But right now, I don't have to. So why make it that way?
I've never understood why bicycle seats don't come with extra padding as a standard feature. Just
no, and even when they're padded, if you're for a long after an hour or so, even
exactly.
if they're padded, it's not fun.
Anyway, that was my little diatribe. But Lorraine, thank you very much for being so generous with your time. This was
my pleasure.
Illuminating, enlightening, and of course, being that it's International Women's Day, I thought somebody who has, a business owner who has helped our country at an international level and teaches people daily is somebody we need to celebrate more often, not just once a year on this particular day. Oh, and by the way, because it's a leap year, fellas, if your butt hurt about women getting a day today, you still get 365 because there's 366 in the calendar.
You get an extra day.
You got a bonus day too this year. Calmez-vous le pompon.
On se calme. J'aime bien ton français, Douglas.
Merci beaucoup.
Oui.
Un petit franco-ontarien.
Ouais, mais c'est beau. J'aime ça.
Merci beaucoup. I love it. That makes me so happy.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, Paul. It was really enjoyable.
Thank you.
You guys are two great guys.
Take care, eh? Remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, I will actually. I'll keep up and I'll check out what you guys are up to.
Oh, share us with all your friends too if they find political talk interesting. We're not just politics. The show Monday to Friday is
culture.
Yeah, it's primarily politics, but it's and general culture. And once a month we do a thing called the Pubcast, where normally we just go over here across the street from my apartment to a place called the Lieutenant's Pump in beautiful downtown Ottawa. And we'll sit there on a Saturday afternoon and just talk about life. And we don't talk politics during the Pubcast. It's no politics. That's the rule. Every now and then it'll lean in a little bit, but we try and steer out of it as quickly as possible because we want it just to be a place where we can sit and enjoy a pint and enjoy an afternoon.
Enjoy each other's company. And
exactly, an afternoon
people,
of company.
Right? That politics is not your entire identity.
It's not ours, right? So once a month we do that. And this month is a little bit different because scheduling-wise, the only time that Douglas is available and myself, because tomorrow I'm just not well enough to be in a pub because I'm still trying to get over a bronchial infection. But we're doing it on March 16th this year. Now, we won't be in the pub. It will be virtual. Because of the fact that March 17th, which is a Sunday, which is St. Patrick's Day, means that the Saturday will be, forget about it. No, there's no way we couldn't reserve a section.
It'll be International Pub Day.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're going to do it virtually. I'll change the background to make it look like we're in the pub. Douglas is going to do the same on his end, and we'll have a bunch of people. We've got some friends that are going to join us remote for that day. If you want to join us, we're going to start around. I know Douglas is going to join at 4.
Because I'm in rehearsal till 3.
Yeah, I might start at around 3-ish if I can get things organized on my end. I say ish because there's no setup this time because the studio's here, but it'll depend because I'm going to spend a little bit of time in the pub in the afternoon because after all, it is the St. Patrick's Day weekend. And as a good Irishman you should raise a point against to the feast of St. Patrick, you see. So if you want to join us on the 16th, sometime around 4 p.m. on our YouTube channel, we'll be there to broadcast our monthly pubcast.
Oh, it'd be lovely to have you if you could.
I'll check it out.
All right.
Take care, you guys.
All right, you too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, bye.
Oh, yay. I love that. I love that so much. What a surprise. I had no idea this was happening. I had a whole show on the State of the Union just that Biden did last night planned. And then it's sort of like, oh, we have a guest. Yay.
Well, I thought International Women's Day, let's bring in somebody who is a good representative of women because she's a woman, but also a business leader, an expert in her field, and you know how much we love expertise in this show. So
We
yeah,
love
and
experts.
it you were kind of like, what's going on? But you were your charming self, and immediately I knew you'd like her right away, and I knew that you guys would connect
She's
and enjoy it.
fabulous.
I know.
I want to take lessons from her. I
Well,
really do.
connect with her,
Because
man.
I don't like. I'm everything that she said about hockey. The starts and putting all the energy in the push and whatnot. Because I have good balance like this, but I've never learned how to cross cut. I never learned how to actually like that. Push to the side and stop. I've never, all those things that she was mentioning, all those skating skills. I just know how to stay upright and not fall because I have really, really good balance. Because then I can weight transfer from side to side. But flipping edges or cross cutting, skating backwards while cross cutting, I know none of that. And I've always wanted to. I've always wanted to skate better.
Well, it's like anything. It takes time, dedication, practice, a lot of practice. And remember the thing, people always say practice makes perfect. I hate that statement. Perfection doesn't exist. And who would want it to? How boring the world would be if everything was perfect. Everything would be bland, vanilla, mayonnaise. Actually, let's take vanilla out of there because vanilla is lovely. It would be mayonnaise without any sort of flavor.
Not aioli.
Exactly.
Yeah, Saucy has a comment here. I'm not sure if Marianne is still doing the "Let's Take This
Yes,
Outside"
she is. Yeah,
podcast, but
I just
that
reached out
Lorraine
to
might
her.
be a great guest for Marianne.
I just reached
Right.
out to her. I sent her a message, and I'm going to try and connect them together. So, because Marianne, I think, would love to interview her for sure.
Oh
I mean, it's
yeah.
right up Marianne's.
Well, she loves to cross country ski, right?
Oh yeah, like she does it a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So no, I just sent a message to Marianne. Hopefully, she can reach out to me, and we can connect Lorraine with Marianne, and yeah, we can make something happen.
Oh well, thank you, Bridget. Thank you so much. Bridget just posted. Sorry for people listening at home. I keep on forgetting sometimes that we have
I know.
listeners on podcast only. Mademoiselle Fox posted, "Lorraine is my friend's auntie," so I'm guessing that Lorraine comes to us courtesy of Bridget.
Yes, last night, her friend said we were talking away, and Bridget said, "I think she'd be amazing for the show." And I said, "Well, then what? Tell me about her." So he told me a few things.
Bridget.
Told me a few things, and then he called her, and I spoke with her on the phone for about 10 or 15 minutes. And I said, "Okay, I'll send you a link around 6:30 tomorrow morning. We go live around 7-ish, and we'll start the show, and then Douglas will come in." And you didn't know anything about this until the show began.
Yep.
And it turned out really good, didn't it?
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I'm like geeking out.
You guys did a great interview with her, and I am. Thank you, Vim. I have to say, like, it was my fucking idea. So give me some fucking credit. Thank you. Love you, Douglas.
Props. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys were awesome. I mean, she was incredible, and you were both so respectful to her, and everyone loved the comments are just off the charts. So, but it was a fucking idea.
It was your fucking idea.
Thank you, Douglas.
You get the credit.
Are we doing a whisper ASMR show right now that I'm not aware of?
You get the credit.
I'm gonna do my Paul voice. This is why Douglas and I are friends.
Covering your face. Don't cover your
all
face.
the love, all the
Don't hold
credit.
mic.
Oh no, don't.
No, don't hold the mic. You don't hold the mic. It's on its own arm. I spent money on that for a reason.
Okay. So during this pod, can I talk a little bit?
Yes.
Michael,
Go.
thank you. So during this podcast, I took the dog out twice. I was very happy to listen. I didn't want to miss any part of what Lorraine had to say, and she didn't even tell you, and I won't.
No, it's not our story to tell.
It's not our story to tell, but she really helped my friend.
In a way that you if it's not our story to tell, so we won't tell it. But the way she helped this young man it'll blow your mind.
Yeah. So.
And we'll leave it at that because it's not our story to tell, so we won't tell. But it would blow your mind.
I'm not telling it.
No. We'll leave it at that.
But anyway, I am a little grumpy this morning.
Oh no.
I'm just tired. Like we're just tired from the dog. Like,
would an e-hug help?
Lola's amazing, but she's exhausting.
She's exhausting, but I just took her. So I took her outside, and I didn't. I don't know if you want a story, but I'm fucking telling it anyway. So I was like, we need more coffee, and like I can't even go out of the room without her following me. So I ordered some Tim Hortons coffee and picked it up in the lobby, and I ordered some extra coffee for Fern, who's the building manager here, because he is such a sweet.
Yeah, he's the property manager. He's a great guy.
And he's been so helpful with Lola. So I went in to just say thank you very much. Like his father is who's passed is a dog trainer, and Fern is from thank you, Linda. So Fern is from Northern Ontario. He's an Indigenous person. He's fluently bilingual. He is so smart and kind, and he just like as soon as we brought Lola in, he was just like, "That's a good girl," and he just gave me a bunch of tips about dog training. So we had a little, we shared some Tim Hortons coffee and donuts in his office.
Donuts.
Yeah, well, you don't get the donuts. I gave them to
Lola?
dropped them off, and one of his associates who works here has like she's a really awesome woman. She cleans the building, and she loves Lola too. And I was like, "Hey, Fern, it's International Women's Day." He's like, "Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool." I'm like, "Well, when I can't remember her name right now because anyway, when your associate comes in, um, tell her Happy International Women's Day and have some donuts."
I love donuts. I want donuts.
I know.
I
I
want
wish I'd
donuts for
kept one.
breakfast. Oh,
How are you celebrating the day, Douglas? Well, we already did, I think. I think
I
you
am,
crushed it.
yeah. I have a rehearsal tonight
Mm.
for a play that is being directed by a woman.
Nice.
And
Actually, both plays I'm in right now are being directed by women.
I
Actually, the We Will Rock You, the entire director, stage manager, and assistant stage manager is all female team, actually.
that's amazing. And how long is it on for? Because I know there's a reason I'm asking.
Oh, it's on for, we're doing 10 shows from the 28th of March until the I'd say about 5th of April.
Awesome.
But they're not every night. I think it's Wednesdays through Sundays,
Okay.
and not Mondays and Tuesdays.
The reason
But I
I'm
can send you a
asking.
link.
So please do, because and yes, Saucy, absolutely, donuts are food of the day, or whatever you fucking want to eat. Bacon, donuts, sausage.
The reason
Eat all the
discussing
cake.
things in the chat for listeners. That's the
Eat
chat.
all the cake.
Sorry. And
So here the reason you were asking about the play, right?
is because Ray Girl, shout out to Ray Girl. She offered to pick Paul and I up and drive us to Kingston to see you.
Yeah. So
Now I'm just chorusing this one though.
that's fine.
So you know.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yes,
no,
please.
it was totally her idea, and I just wanted to shout out to Ray Girl. I know she's getting ready to travel, and she was going to join in, but she's really busy. Linda, today is not a day for sausage.
Well,
I'm gonna
to
pee
each their own.
I'm gonna pee my pants. So in honor of International Women's Day, I'm gonna hot flash and possibly pee my pants because I've had 2 children, and sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
And
It's not a day for sausage.
it
is not Oktoberfest.
Honestly, people in this chat are so hilarious. I can't even. That's why I pee my pants.
So yes, just to answer your question, March 28th to
28th,
April
okay.
6th, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday performances have evening performances at 7:30, and then there's a Saturday and Sunday matinee performances both weeks at 2 p.m.
Awesome. Can we bring
Right.
Lola? Just kidding. She cannot go in to
No.
a theater. I can barely get her out the door. No, that's not true. She's such a good girl, but I'm like, she can't be around dogs. She can't be.
Not yet.
Everybody's her
It's going
new
to take a
best
while for
friend.
her to get used to people.
Yeah, I mean, she listens to Paul and she listens to me and she listens to Fern, but ooh, she's a handful. Like, we're hoping to get her to the dog park, like, at some point when there are no dogs there. I'd love to get her out running, honestly. I love running. I really want to get her out into the forest and just run with her. But it's a process, right? Like,
Doesn't
Mhm.
happen overnight.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, just to add, because I was looking again, there are no shows, however, on the Easter Sunday.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, on
And
the 31st.
Easter's early this year, right?
Yeah, March 31st.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
yeah, our dress rehearsal's the 27th, opening night the 28th, and then 4 shows that week, and then 5 shows the following week.
Also, there's no such thing as I'm just in the chorus. That's awesome.
No, there's no such thing as a small role.
That's
Okay,
right.
Yeah, no,
There's no small parts. But yes, I'm not. No, it's just because the last time I think you guys came to see me over the river through the
You were
woods,
the
I think it
star,
was
yeah,
like this. I had the lead in
Oh
that
my
one. So
gosh.
yes, but I'm chorus on this one. So
And you honestly, that was so powerful, that performance. Like, Paul and I were both just like crying.
Yeah, it's the
Thanks.
first half is funny. The second half changes things. We're like, wait, I did not see that coming. Nobody gave me a heads up about this.
yeah,
I was not prepared.
I remember you telling me you didn't tell me I was going to have feelings. That's like,
No, it was really incredible, and I was just
I
like,
love that show.
Sorry, when you say you're in the chorus, all I can think of is Bugs Bunny. Oh, we're the boys of the chorus. We hope you like our show. We know you're rooting for us, but now we have to go. That's all I can think of. All right, let's wrap this up so I can. I got some work I got to do. I got a meeting in I got a meeting in 10 minutes.
And thank you, Saucy. I'll look into that leash.
All right. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my State of the Union content.
Well, we can maybe Monday. We can deal with it
But
on
there
Monday.
will be political stuff that happens on the weekend.
So we'll tie that in. We'll tie it in.
All right. So kids and cubs, if you came here today wondering, because the State of the Union stuff says, oh, I can't wait to see what he's going to say about that. Cliffhanger.
I didn't even know it was on.
I had heard of it a bit, but then we went to go watch the play last night, and then I came home and I was checking my email and doing some stuff to prepare for today. Like, what kind of show do I want to prepare? And there were all these comments like Joe Biden, oh my God, he knocked it out of the park. He did this, he did that. If you thought he was too old, that's too bad. And like this, you were so wrong. I mean, you even had people and we're talking about like Michael Smirkanish, and who's expressed many times. He's a big time commentator in the United States. So all the pundits and whatnot. And then along parallel to that, it's like, oh my God, what was that? Just talking about the person that was given the response. And it's just, and I'm thinking what is this? So I actually started watching it last night before going to bed, even though we got back home at 11:30, from the play, because the opening night there's a reception, and I'm on the board and produced it, so I was there for that, and that's where this little baby came from, little Rose that I got for that, and I said, well, I have to see what this is, and I was up until 3 in the morning watching it all, and I'm thinking and taking time steps and going this is gonna be great, and then I walk in and go, there are people here.
Yeah, it was a surprise, I know. But International Women's Day, I thought it was appropriate.
No, absolutely. No, this was a great idea.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank
you.
Oh, no,
I've rarely been so
welcome.
happy. I've rarely been so happy to have been thrown off schedule.
Douglas, you can roll with anything. You're awesome.
I am a bit of a weed. You just plant me somewhere and I'll thrive.
There we go.
There are two types of people in the world. There are weeds and then there are orchids. I'm a weed. I'm
Good to know.
low maintenance.
Well, I was told by somebody that I'm sitting next to that I'm a bit of a princess.
Yes.
That was my beaver, sweetie.
Well, I love your beaver, sweetie.
She doesn't deny that she's a bit of a princess, though.
Yes. Neither does Alex. Put
Put
your
it
crown
on.
on,
If the
darling.
crown
Put your
fits, wear
crown.
it, right?
Today, my
Oh,
queen.
stop it.
For you.
There you go.
Oh,
There you go.
Yeah, that's for you.
that is really that you just made my day.
Queen Beaver has said so. Let it be so.
Let it be so.
There you go.
All righty, let's wrap this up. I got a meeting.
All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode. I guess it's not the Daily Beaver Morning Show, but the interview project.
Yes,
Because this is going to be an interview project that's going to go down as this one. Surprise interview project. And I've never been more happy to be surprised. This is wonderful. Sharing is caring. Word of mouth is priceless. You have the mouse that we want the words to come out of. So please tell all of your peeps and poops about us. Share this far and wide, especially if you know anybody who's into sports, especially if you have anybody in your family that you love, young girls, or even adults who are into
Absolutely.
sports like this. Send them the message, let them see somebody, who basically in their field made it to the top levels. I mean, we're talking about people who coached, Olympic level players, right? Whatever it is that you're doing in sport, you don't have to be an athlete. You can be a trainer, you can be a coach. When you get to the top levels of your game, that's spectacular. So, if you, and like we said, if you don't see it, you can't achieve it. So make sure that people see this. If you would like to make sure that you do not miss an episode, you do not have to, thanks to the aforementioned Ray Girl. Bon voyage, by the way, happy travels. If you scan that QR code that's, not under my chin today because we got a wider shot, but sort of like right under my...
Mike, flag.
Or my...
right pack.
Yeah, let's call it a peck. Cylindio has more than I do.
Boy.
That'll bring you to. Oh yes. I'm rather Cylindian-esque when it comes to pecs in the chest region. You scan that'll bring you to our pod page, which is podpage.com/the-true-north-eager-beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words, lowercase letters, and that way when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, you do not have to miss it. If you'd like to support us in other ways, the QR code right up there in the top corner brings you to our YouTube page where you can like, share, and subscribe. And, guys, we like it when you join, but ladies, all the ladies, loud and now. Help me out. Come on, all the ladies, subscribe to our show. So,
please.
Because we want you to be there. Absolutely. And if you can help us out in other ways, well, the squiggling that's now in the top corner, because it switched magically. Mr. Grizzly makes magic happen. Now, if you scan it, it will bring you to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And there you will find the Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund. Help us get ready for St. Patrick's Day. We need to practice so that we get the day right. Right? That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
We're here today because we got to get our drinking game on.
You got to read Saucy's comment.
Let's see. Okay, so I got the private chat there. The National Post won't be very impressed with your tatas, Douglas. How will you take out woke with those flapjacks?
That's a good one, Ree. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
What I lack in volume, I make up with enthusiasm when I shake them. Hey, National Post, you want some of this?
Indeed.
Huh? There you go, huh? But yes, the Eager Beaver Lodge, because hey, we just had a national level coach coming over here.
We did.
So like we have to be in training for St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day just doesn't happen. We need to get in, partying and drinking shape. So if you could leave a couple of toonies in there to help us make sure that we're on our game for the podcast, that'd be rocking. All right. And let's see, what else do we have? Because democracy is something that you do. Write those letters, but also, if you have somebody in your life, doesn't necessarily have to be your child, but if you have a niece, for example, or a cousin who's into sports, make a point to go see one of their games.
If you can, if your schedule permits, try and make it happen.
At some point,
I know it's not always easy.
One of the reasons I left hockey after 2 years was just because I kept on standing on street corners at 5:30, 6:30 in the morning, waiting for somebody else's family to come and pick me up like this. And,
Mhm.
we were 5 boys in the foster home, but my foster parents never came to see a game until, the last game of the last year when we were in the finals. So, and that's like, well, nobody's coming to see me, so what's the point?
Yeah.
And I kind of gave it up. So, whatever level they're competing at, the kids are putting in a lot of effort and a lot of work
Well,
into it.
and something
And
that
a lot of heart. So encourage them by showing up.
well, that'll lead into my words of wisdom today, which are, something I've learned by observation, because it was observation that taught me this, was that kids don't want much from you. They just want to spend time with you. And I didn't realize how realistic that was until I saw an episode of Ted Lasso, and that was explained in the episode. And then a family member explained to me about how they had a relative come and stay with them for about a week, and they took the relative, to Wonderland and here, there, and everywhere, and then went on a bike ride the last night before they went to go home the next day and said, we did this, what was your favorite thing? And the response was the bike ride. So they did, took this person to all these different unique places, spent a ton of money on this person doing all these things that you think the kid's going to like. And it turned out what the kid liked the most was just spending time with them. So take that under advisement. Kids just want your time, man. You don't need to spend stuff. You don't need to buy them things, trinkets, bobs, gifts.
Yep.
Sure, that's nice, but they just want your time. That's all
They want-
kids really want.
They want you to be interested in them, and they want to make you proud.
Yes. Yeah.
But even like if you're a grown up, men, your wives, if they're playing some type of sport, you're an adult, go watch their curling game one night. Go watch them play tennis one day. And so just sit there and cheer for them, because it really means a lot. Like, my Beaver sweetie comes and watches a couple of curling matches a year for me like this, and a couple of times in the season will come and watch me play a tennis match. And it's just like, again, there are no cameras, there's no cash prize, there's no nothing.
You've paid
But when
to be
he's
there.
but when he's there, I played just a little harder.
And I
Right?
know nobody
Want him to be
asked
proud.
me. I totally agree. I know you have to go, Paul, but I just want to say some of the best parenting advice I had with kids in sports is just to be there and just to say, I'm just so happy to watch you play. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. And it was just the best advice.
Yep. It makes my heart happy to watch you play. All right. Mr. Grizzly, you gave us your words of wisdom. So I will say, get some cubs. It could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the rooster.
I can do that.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. No specific Easter egg today, but I also, because I forgot to mention it, to all the women who tune in to watch our show, thank you so much, because you may not know it, but when we look at our demographics data from the platforms that we can get them from, you'd be surprised, because it's a political show, and usually politics you associate with being like man's business. Our viewership is predominantly women, and our supporters, particularly those of you who actually go to the Emergency Hydration Fund and leave something for us, the overwhelming majority are women. So this show I guess, in this initiative, in this endeavor, is what it is. Very much, we might be two guys that came up with the idea and are doing the show, but it's going places, and it's going to the places it's going because principally, overwhelmingly, the support of the women who come in on the chat and who make donations and support. So we literally would be nothing without you. Our founding sponsors are all businesses that have women in key roles or that are owned and operated by women or co-owned and operated by women. We love you. We would not be where we are without you. We would not be who we are without you. You're loved. You're appreciated. Thank you for everything that you've done for us. May you have a really kick-ass day.
And why is it only a day?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, really. Yeah. Can't let the MGTOWs get too excited, I guess.
They're excited anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
But yes.
Ladies.
We salute you.
Salute you. All right. I'll see you.
Have a great weekend.